Chapter 2013. When Noah's gaze landed on Thomas's body suddenly trembled, and his face was filled with fear. It wasn't just Thomas. Even the battle whores on the ground were looking at Noah with fear in their eyes. Their hearts were trembling. It could not be helped. Just now, in front of these people, Noah killed a god with his own hands, and sent this god back to the heavens, and it was almost impossible for him to return. For the people of the lower realm, killing a god was an extremely taboo. However, Noah did it without hesitation. Since that was the case, it was impossible for others not to be afraid. Just like how modern people would be afraid of murderers, Noah, who violated the taboo law, in the eyes of ordinary people naturally became the target of fear. In this regard, Noah did not have any thoughts. He just looked straight at Thomas, and after a while, he lifted his feet and walked over. "You! What are you trying to do?" Thomas was shocked. He wanted to move, but because of the previous injury, his body was in extreme pain, and he could not move at all. He could only scream in horror. "Don't come over. Don't come over." An existence that could kill a god without batting an eye, killing a person was something that did not need to hesitate at all. Thomas, who thought so, was already filled with fear. Seeing Noah getting closer and closer, he began to beg for mercy. "Don't kill me, I'm innocent. I was just acting when I attacked you, just acting." Hearing this, Noah stopped in his tracks. Seeing this, Thomas breathed a sigh of relief. However, Noah muttered, "Acting, it was indeed acting, and you even put on a big show." The inexplicable words made Thomas completely stunned. Put on a big show. What did this mean? Not to mention Thomas, even the surrounding battle whores who had fallen to the ground could not react in time. "There's something that I felt was very strange from the beginning." Noah suddenly said this without any warning. Not long ago, some members of Freya's family entered the underground city and encountered Ista's family on the 18th floor of the safe floor. Hearing Noah suddenly mention this matter, Thomas's expression suddenly froze. As if he did not see Thomas's expression, Noah continued to talk to himself. At that time, Freya's family only sent a few insignificant people, and the highest level in the team was only LV3. But your Ista's family even had a LV5 leader present, and even the hidden trump card that was brought into the underground city in an iron box. Isn't that a little strange? For Ista's family, Chun-Ji was their trump card to defeat Freya's family. Normally, Ista wouldn't even give Chun-Ji freedom, so Chun-Ji almost became a lady of the boudoir who never went out of the house. However, at that time, not only did the strongest leader of Ista's family appear, but even Chun-Ji was brought into the underground city. No matter how he thought about it, it was impossible to encounter Freya's family by chance, but a planned ambush of Freya's family. But in this way, another question also floated in Noah's mind. The opponent was just a group of adventurers who were at most LV3. Even if Ista's family wanted to ambush Freya's family, they wouldn't send a LV5 leader and the hidden trump card of her family just for a group of adventurers who were at most LV3, right? Noah said lightly. So, this matter, from the beginning, there were some strange things that made me have a lot of doubts. Intuition tells me that in addition to the hidden trump card of Ista's family, there is also a deeper inside story behind this matter. Noah glanced at Thomas. "I came to Happy Street with such doubts, intending to find out the truth." Thomas's expression began to change. Noah still acted as if he didn't see anything and continued to speak. "After that, I reached an agreement with Aisha and agreed to let her take Chun-Ji away. At the same time, I asked her about this matter and found out that the reason why Ista sent out such a lineup was because she received news that Freya's family was about to carry out a very important operation in the underground city. Therefore, Ista sent out elites to snipe them." At this point, Noah looked at Thomas and said word by word. "And that news was reported to Ista by you?" Thomas's heart skipped a beat. You. Thomas couldn't help but say. What are you trying to say? I want to say that the source of your information is really unreliable. Noah curled his lips and smiled. Freya's family had a very important operation in the underground city, but they sent a group of adventurers who were at most LV3 to carry it out. Who are you trying to fool? If that's the case, I have to think carefully. Is there a possibility that you are reporting false information? But Freya's family did indeed send people to the underground city. Noah looked at Thomas with a faint smile. It's almost as if the informant had colluded with Freya's family to put on a good show in front of someone, so that this person and Freya's family would be involved in the whole script, while the informant would stay aside and watch the show. Thomas's expression changed drastically. It seems that I guessed right. Noah's smile became a little indifferent. You have long been captured by Freya's charm and became her subordinate. It was Freya's order to report false information to Ishta. It was also Freya's arrangement that Freya's family appeared in the 18th floor of the underground city. Freya wanted me to be the main character in the drama, and then let Ishta's family become important supporting characters, while she leisurely sat on the sidelines and watched the show, playing a game where everyone and even the gods were dancing in her palm. Noah glanced at Thomas. I'm right, aren't I? Thomas's face turned deathly pale, without a single trace of blood. Obviously, Noah's guess was right on target. In other words, Ishta had been led by the nose by Freya from the beginning to the end, and she was just a pastime. And Noah had become the target of the beauty's prank. I knew it, that love-struck fool would not stay obediently in the Tower of Babel. Noah suddenly smiled, staring at Thomas, and said so. Since I've already taken care of one beauty, why don't I take care of another one? Thomas suddenly felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave, and he began to lose his body temperature. Noah's smile and words, to Thomas who had just witnessed the whole process of Noah killing a god, were simply the devil's sneer and whisper. Therefore, Thomas had reason to believe. This person could definitely do such a thing. Mad. Mad. Thomas's lips trembled. No. No. Tyrant. You are a real tyrant. An irrational tyrant, maybe. Noah pursed his lips, and then bent down, stretched out his hand, and slid it across Thomas's neck. Tell me, what should I do with you? Noah's finger merely slid across the front of Thomas's neck, but it gave Thomas the feeling that his throat had been cut by a blade, and he could die at any time. The shadow of death rose in Thomas's heart. Noah was still there, telling his thoughts. Fortunately, I had a good time this time, and at least I got a good girl. With such a reward, my anger is almost gone. This time, I'll let that love-struck fool go. Noah said so, like a harmless little boy. However, you have to tell that fallen woman well. Tell her, don't do it again, or else prepare to go to heaven and have a chat with Ishta. Yes, the topic should be, as a beauty who can make all the opposite sex fall head over heels for her, how does she feel when she dies in the hands of a human male from the lower realm? Noah looked at Thomas, and his eyes flashed with bone-chilling emotions. Remember to help me pass on these words, okay? After leaving these words, Noah got up and slowly came to the guardrail of the open-air balcony under the horrified gaze of all the combat prostitutes who had fallen to the ground. With a leap, he disappeared into the night sky. Thomas stared blankly at Noah's back disappearing in front of his eyes, as if his consciousness had been annihilated, and he didn't react for a long time. Below his crotch, a pair of pants had already become wet. Chapter 2014. The next day, when the sky began to brighten, a piece of news that shocked all of Eulalie and even the whole world spread. Have you heard? Ah, of course. Who in Eulalie doesn't know about this? Yes. I didn't expect that the tyrant dared to attack the main god of Ishta's family and caused her to be sent back to heaven. I still can't believe it. Yes. A human being dared to attack a god. It's not a matter of disrespect, right? I really want to know if this news is true or not. It must be true. After all, those battle whores in Itha's clan who had regained their freedom saw with their own eyes that god Itha was killed by the tyrant. It said that the whole guild was shocked. They even held a meeting to ban Ishta's family. Now, Ishta's family is really in big trouble. Now that there is such a taboo existence among the children of Ishta's family, I'm afraid that Ishta and her family will be implicated. I'm afraid that Ishta's family will be disbanded by the guild. Goddess Hestia might even be punished and sent back to the heavens. It's a pity that her family has been in the limelight recently. Similar conversations were taking place in every corner of Eulalie's office. At this time, the adventurers should be preparing to head to the dungeon to earn magic stones and kill monsters for a day of activities. However, today, because of this important news, the Tower of Babel was deserted. Only a few adventurers went to the underground city. Everyone was paying attention to this news. What would the guild do in the face of a taboo god slayer? This tyrant is too impulsive, isn't he? Although he's powerful, he can't be so reckless. Although those gods are very annoying and play us here and there every day, they are still gods. Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning by the heavens if you attack a god? No matter how hateful that god is, we can just tie him up and let our main god kill him. Only a god can kill a god. Yes. That's right. Gods could only be killed by gods. This was the philosophy of the people of the lower realm. To the people of the lower realm, gods were existences that should be worshipped. Due to the collective descent of the gods into the mortal world, the distance between the gods and humans was not as far apart as it was in ancient times. Some people even felt disdain for the gods. However, not many people had thought of attacking the gods. During a battle between clans and factions, people would at most capture the other side's overgods and never dare to harm them. Just like what was mentioned above, if one attacked a god, it wouldn't be strange to be struck by lightning. It was such a taboo thing. Moreover, no matter how outrageous a god was, he was still a god. In the eyes of the gods, it was one thing to be killed by a god of the same kind, but to be killed by a human from the lower realm was absolutely intolerable. If one didn't receive any punishment for killing a god, didn't that mean that others could easily kill a god? Of course, it was impossible. So, even if it was for their own sake, the gods would be serious this time and ask the guild to punish Noah, right? And as Noah's overgod, Hestia would definitely be punished. If the child committed a crime, wouldn't the parents be at fault? Of course not. Others would definitely think that there was a problem with Hestia's teaching if she could even do such a taboo thing as killing a god. Therefore, this time, the disturbance caused by Noah was far greater than during the war game. It involved not only the clan but also the overgods. Because of this, not only did the higher-ups of the guild hold a meeting, but even the gods held a meeting of the gods. For the first time, they started a meeting with a very serious attitude. However, just as everyone was discussing how to punish Noah, another piece of news came out. Did goddess Hestia expel the tyrant from her clan? That's right. Hestia expelled Noah from her clan. This news quickly spread throughout Eulalia, and everyone knew about it. Everyone who knew about this news was stunned at first, but then they came to a realization. Committing such a taboo thing, it's reasonable to expel him from his clan. Otherwise, are you waiting for him to implicate the whole clan and even himself? Hestia has made a foolproof decision. Yeah. Expulsion from the clan. Among the various punishments, it could be said to be the most severe one. Because, being expelled from the clan meant that the overgod had given up on the favor given to the child. Those without a clan, no matter how glorious they were in the past, their ability points would be sealed, just like the people of Hestia's clan. Unless they joined a new clan and the new overgod activated their ability points with divine blood, they could only be reduced to a weak normal person. Which clan would be willing to let go of someone like the tyrant? But this time, they had to let him go, otherwise the whole clan would be affected. This is the price of being impulsive. Everyone felt that this matter was reasonable, including the higher-ups of the guild and the gods and Buddhas. If they did not take the opportunity to cut ties with Noah, then Hestia's clan would be punished as if they were covering up a criminal. Now, Noah was expelled from the clan. Not only did he receive the punishment he deserved, but Hestia's clan could also live in peace. Then, the guild and the gods and Buddhas dismissed the meeting and did not say anything about this matter. However, the people of Eulalia did not find it strange. After all, the person involved had been expelled from the clan and received the punishment he deserved. However, gradually, Noah's actions also made the people of Eulalia give him a title that was extremely taboo in this world: God Slayer. Just like Aes was known as the swordswoman and was also known as the warrior, Noah was known as the tyrant, and from today onwards, he also received the title of God Slayer. It was a pity that these people did not know. The culprit who expelled Noah from the clan, Hestia, was making a scene at this moment. I don't agree. I definitely don't agree. In the base camp of Hestia's clan, the petite young goddess was lying on the sofa, throwing a pillow in her hand and throwing a tantrum like a child. I don't want to expel Noah from the clan. I don't want to. Under Hestia's tantrum, Baal and Lily, who were about to go forward and persuade her, were hit by the pillows she threw around. They immediately covered their noses and squatted down with tears in their eyes. Hestia suddenly jumped up and pointed at the corner of the living room. It's all your fault. In the direction Hestia pointed at, Haruji, who was wearing a red kimono, was hiding there, trembling and lowering her head as if she was about to cry. It's all my fault. The delicate and cute Volpara girl's tearful appearance would make anyone feel a little sorry for her. However, the furious Hestia didn't care at all. If knowing one's wrong can be regretted, then what's the use of gods? The enraged young goddess was like a ferocious beast, pouncing toward Haruji. However, halfway through, a hand reached out and knocked on Hestia's head. Bam! Wah! The knocking sound and the wailing sound sounded almost at the same time. Hestia covered her head and squatted down with tears in her eyes like Baal and Lily. Didn't I tell you? Noah sighed and took back his hand. Leaving the clan is just a cover. With my uniqueness, as long as I stay out of the limelight, I can return at any time. In that case, what's wrong with leaving? I don't care. I just don't want you to leave. Hestia bit her lips, and a trace of sadness appeared on her young face. You're my original family. I don't want you to leave my clan. Hearing this, Noah was silent. After a while, Noah sighed again and said, Don't worry. Actually, for me, the clan isn't the problem at all because I'm not destined to stay in this world forever. What? Hestia froze. Hey, Hestia. Noah smiled and said. Tell me a little about me. Chapter 2015. Under the gaze of Belle and Lily, Noah held the hand of the stunned Hestia and walked into the room. He closed the door so that Belle and Lily couldn't hear the conversation inside. Belle and Lily were very curious about what Noah was going to say to Hestia, but they knew it must be something very important from Noah's expression. Therefore, Belle and Lily could only look at the door in front of them and didn't respond for a long time. The whole living room returned to silence. It wasn't until a while later that Belle murmured in disbelief. Leader, are you really going to withdraw from the clan tribe? This is something that can't be helped. Lily was very open-minded, but her expression was still a little heavy. Only in this way can this storm pass peacefully. Whether it was Belle or Lily, in fact, they were very clear. Noah made such a decision because he didn't want to implicate the clan tribe. The evidence was that in the face of the so-called punishment of the guild and the blame of the gods, Noah had always been indifferent. He only made arrangements for the clan tribe. Noah was right. He was special. It wasn't that Noah thought so. All of Eulalie knew that Noah was special. Because, even without relying on the grace of the gods, Noah was also very powerful. This matter was no longer a secret among the gods. Because of this, Noah was special. If it was another person who did something like killing a god, the main god would immediately withdraw the grace given to him and beat him back to his original state. Without power, facing the entire adventure of Eulalie, this person could only obediently be captured and let the guild and the gods deal with him. But Noah was different. Even without the grace of a god, Noah still possessed formidable strength. Once he took revenge, which god with their divine power sealed would have the strength to fight back? Since Noah had committed the taboo of killing a god, then, what did it matter if he killed a few more gods? In other words, the gods were all afraid of Noah. They were afraid that if they forced Noah into a corner, they would provoke Noah's revenge. At that time, with Noah's strength, all of Eulalie would really be thrown into chaos, ushering in the true twilight of the gods. The gods were not willing to see such a thing happen. This was because these deities still hoped to stay in the mortal world. The guilds weren't willing to see such a thing happen. This was because if the gods in Eulalie were to suffer a huge blow, causing most of the adventurers to lose their favor, then the guild would definitely suffer a huge loss. After all, the guild had relied on monopolizing the magic stones produced in the dungeon and selling magic stone products to the rest of the world to become rich and powerful. If there were not a large number of adventurers exploring the dungeon and bringing back large amounts of magic stones, the guild would suffer heavy losses. For this reason, the guilds and the gods were definitely not willing to force Noah to his death. If they were forced into a corner and Noah really went berserk, it wouldn't be good for anyone. It was precisely because of this that the guilds and the gods had to hold a meeting to discuss this matter. In fact, the guilds and the gods were not willing to offend Noah too much. Unfortunately, the taboo that Noah had committed could not be ignored. Noah had to be punished. Moreover, it had to be a punishment that could make other adventurers feel afraid. If Noah killed a god and was not punished, then all of Eulalie would definitely be in chaos. For example, if Noah was not punished, then such a conversation might occur. There's no punishment for killing a god. Then what's there to be afraid of? Since there's no punishment for killing a god, then we don't have to be respectful to those gods in the future. Yes. If I'm forced into a corner, then I'll kill a god too. Anyway, I won't be punished. Even if the above conversation did not appear in real life, it would become everyone's thoughts. Just like the existence of laws was necessary, only by telling everyone what the consequences of breaking these laws would be, then the crime could be effectively suppressed. Therefore, Noah had to be punished. In this way, the gods' safety could be guaranteed. Once someone set a precedent and was not punished, then the gods would no longer be safe in this world. In this way, on the one hand, they needed to give Noah enough punishment, and on the other hand, they needed to be careful not to push Noah too far. The guilds and the gods would definitely be worried. If this situation continued, the guilds and the gods who were at their wits' end would definitely find trouble with Hestia, or even the entire family of Hestia. It was precisely because Noah saw through all the developments that he ignored Hestia's opposition and let Belle and Lily spread the news that he was expelled from Hestia's family. For adventurers, being expelled from the family of Hestia was already a very heavy punishment. After all, not everyone could be like Noah, who could still be strong after losing his ability points. Therefore, this punishment was enough to deter others. With the example of being expelled from the family of Hestia for killing a god, adventurers who did not want to become ordinary people without the strength to truss up a chicken would certainly not commit the same big taboo. The guilds and the gods also had an explanation to the people. Therefore, after learning that Noah was expelled from the family of Hestia's family, the meeting between the guilds and the gods was dissolved. Since Noah had taken care of the matter first, only a fool would find trouble with Noah at this time. As for Noah, he could return to Hestia's family after the news died down and nothing would happen. This was what the so-called hiding from the limelight meant. In other words, Lord Noah actually doesn't care about the guild's punishment at all. It's only because he needs to consider us that he has no choice but to temporarily withdraw from the family of Hestia. Lily said in a deep voice. Lily, Lord Bell, and Lady Hestia have all dragged Lord Noah down. Lily's words made Bell lower his head with a look of regret. Of course, to be honest, the reason why it became like this is because Lord Noah killed a god without any scruples. We are all implicated. Lily quickly changed her tone. So, whether it's Lord Noah or us, we're all in this together, ha 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 ha. Lily's laughter sounded extremely empty, making the atmosphere a little uncomfortable. Realizing this, Lily lowered her head. Sorry, Lily isn't very good at comforting people. It's okay. Bell hurriedly shook his head. It's me who shouldn't feel indignant about being here. Seeing Bell and Lily apologizing to each other, Chun-Ji, who was huddled in the corner of the living room, also spoke weakly. No, it's not your fault. It's my daughter's fault. It's all because of my daughter that Lord committed the taboo of killing a god. As she said this, Chun-Ji's expression also became sad. As expected, prostitutes are a symbol of destruction and only harm people. As soon as she said this, the sound of the door opening was heard. What are you two talking about? Noah walked out of the room, looked at Belle, Lily, and Chun-Ji, and sighed. If you want to blame yourselves, then figure out the situation first. Don't take the blame for everything. I attacked Ishta because of some personal feelings. You didn't do anything to cause this situation to happen. Do you understand? Noah's voice caused the three people present to turn their gazes over. Then, Belle, Lily, and Chun-Ji saw him. In addition to Noah, Hestia also walked out of the room. However, the expression on Hestia's face was no longer the same as before. Instead, it was replaced by bewilderment and disbelief. Seeing Hestia like this, Belle, Lily, and Chun-Ji were really shocked. What did Noah say to Hestia to make this goddess so shocked? Ignoring Belle, Lily, and Chun-Ji's surprise, Noah straightforwardly announced. I have 3 things to announce to you. Belle, Lily, and Chun-Ji's faces were shaken, and they couldn't help but concentrate. Under such circumstances, Noah began to announce. First, I will be leaving the clan for a period of time. I don't know how long this period of time will be, but it should be around 1.5 years. The announcement was not unexpected, and Belle, Lily, and Chun-Ji lowered their heads. However, what happened next shocked the 3 of them once again. The second thing is that from today onwards, Chun-Ji will join Hestia's clan and become a member of her clan. Chapter 2016. WH. What? When Noah's second announcement reached the ears of everyone present, the first to make a sound of surprise was none other than Chun-Ji herself. What's wrong? Noah asked casually as if he had expected this reaction. You don't want to. Chun-Ji. No. No. Chun-Ji reacted and spoke somewhat anxiously. But, if Chun-Ji joins this clan tribe, then won't Sir have to leave alone? What's the problem with that? Noah shook his head with a smile. I'm just leaving temporarily, not wandering the world from now on. Do you want to follow me all the time? But. Chun-Ji lowered her head as if she couldn't let go and spoke in a mosquito-like voice. In that case, won't Sir Noah feel lonely? No. Noah replied without any hesitation. I'm not alone. Not to mention the fact that I have 4 little girls by my side, I know quite a lot of people in this city. In addition, there will definitely be troubles, big and small, coming to find me one after another. I won't be lonely. Is that so? Chun-ji didn't know if she was relieved or disappointed. She kept her head lowered as if she wanted to say something but couldn't. Looking at Chun-ji like this, the smile on Noah's face turned into a bitter smile. I know what you're thinking. You feel that you caused me to have to leave the clan tribe. In this situation, you joined my clan tribe instead. That's like taking my place, right? Not only that. Chun-ji still lowered her head, and her voice was still so soft, but it clearly reached the ears of everyone present. Chun-ji once promised Sir that as long as Sir can redeem Chun-ji will follow you no matter where you are. Therefore, Chun-ji wants to fulfill her promise. Is that so? Noah muttered to himself for a while, and his gaze towards Chun-ji became a little gentle as he said so. In that case, you have to help me guard this clan tribe obediently and wait for me to come back, understand? Hearing Noah's words, Chun-ji fell silent. After a long while, she raised her head and said such a sentence. Since this is Milord's arrangement, then Chun-ji will do as you say. After saying that, Chun-ji turned around and bowed to Hestia, Belle, and Lily. In the future, I look forward to your guidance. Belle and Lily subconsciously shifted their gazes to Hestia upon hearing this. Under the gazes of Belle and Lily, Hestia looked at Chun-ji with a complicated expression before sighing and nodding. Seeing this, Belle and Lily understood. Hestia agreed to Noah's arrangement. The addition of Chun-ji has an extraordinary meaning to this clan tribe. After Chun-ji joins, you will know how precious she is. I hope you will treat her as a true comrade. I have promised others that I will take good care of her. Noah smiled. Then, it's time for the last thing. Then, Noah looked at Belle and made an announcement that would shock everyone to death. Belle, during the time that I'm not around, you will be the leader of the clan tribe. Ha! Belle was stunned. After regaining his senses, he couldn't help but cry out in surprise. I'm the leader. Of course it's you, Noah said matter-of-factly. In this clan tribe, except for me, you are the first member of Hestia's group, and Lily and Chun-ji are both LV-1 rookies. Only you are a LV-2 senior adventurer. If you don't want to be the leader, who will? But I can't. Belle was extremely terrified. I can't be as outstanding as the leader. No one is asking you to learn from me. You just have to do what you can, Noah announced in an unquestionable tone. In short, as the only man in the clan tribe, you have to bear the responsibility of protecting the clan tribe and your companions. If you don't want to do it, then pretend that I didn't say anything. Belle's expression began to change. He glanced at Lily, Chun-ji, and Hestia. Then, he finally mustered up his courage. I will do my best. That's enough. Noah nodded and turned to Lily. As for the miscellaneous matters in the clan tribe, I'll leave them to you, Lily. I understand, Sir Noah. Lily nodded heavily. Lily will do her best. That's good. Noah shrugged. All right, that's all for the announcement. There was no one who didn't know what these words meant. At that moment, Belle, Lily, and Chun-ji didn't know what to say. They were all speechless. Noah turned around and looked at Hestia, who had a complicated expression on her face. He smiled helplessly and squatted down. Don't look like that. Noah reached out and pinched Hestia's delicate cheeks and began to rub them. Even if I leave the clan tribe, it doesn't mean that our relationship is severed. It also doesn't mean that we won't be involved anymore. I'm just going out to lie low. Hestia didn't say anything and allowed Noah to rub her cheeks. She recalled all the fantastical things that Noah told her just now. Her mood was really complicated. In the past, Hestia had known that Noah had a huge secret. He didn't need the grace of a god to be almost invincible. There were all kinds of strange and incomparably magical abilities. Even Freya was shocked by the brilliance of the soul. It surpassed all species, including the terrifying possibilities of the gods. All the evidence proved that Noah was extraordinary. However, Hestia didn't expect him to be extraordinary to this extent. If it wasn't for the fact that as a goddess, Hestia could clearly see that Noah wasn't lying. No matter how much she trusted Noah, she would have doubted all the fantastical things that Noah just mentioned. However, it was useless to doubt him. After all, Noah had already let Hestia see his back. The ability points that should have belonged to Hestia had long disappeared, proving that Noah's words were true. Even though Hestia was a god, she was still overwhelmed by the unprecedented new worldview. Her heart was filled with complicated feelings. There was only one thing that Hestia was sure of. That was, the child in front of her didn't just belong to her, but to this world. No. He didn't just belong to this world. This existence named Noah should belong to the thousands of worlds that were waiting for him to save. After understanding this, Hestia couldn't suppress the loneliness that rose in her heart. In the end, the child that she loved the most still didn't belong to her. Even if he wasn't taken away by Freya or Loki, he still didn't belong to her. Just as Hestia couldn't help but feel a trace of bitterness in her heart, the hand that was rubbing her cheek started to become gentler. Then, a sentence pierced into Hestia's heart. Even if I leave this clan, the blood that you dripped into my body countless times still stays in my body and becomes an indispensable part of my power. Noah stroked Hestia's head and suddenly smiled. I haven't completely lost the favor you left me. It will help me defeat my fate, which is why the bond between you and me can no longer be severed by a mere spawn. Regardless, we'll still be family, won't we? Hestia raised her eyes slightly and looked at Noah's face. Her eyes started to tear up. Cheer up. Noah patted Hestia's head. Don't look like you're going to be separated forever. You're a goddess. What haven't you seen in thousands of years? Isn't that right? It's all your fault. Hestia's tears turned into a smile. Then, she took a deep breath and whispered to Noah very seriously. Don't wander around outside for too long, don't flatter other women, and don't join the clans of other goddesses. What do you mean wander around? When did I flatter any woman, Au? Noah didn't know whether to laugh or cry. As for the other clans, other than Freya and Loki, no one has the guts to let me join, right? With that, Noah looked up at the sky outside the window and whispered softly. After all, I'm a taboo godslayer. Chapter 2017. Due to the incident of Noah killing a deity, every street in Eulalia was very lively today. A group of adventurers who didn't carry any armor and only carried weapons for self-defense gathered in the hotels and inns in twos and threes. They were discussing this matter that had caused a huge uproar in the city. Under such circumstances, on one of the 8 avenues that led to the central square where the Tower of Babel was located, the pedestrians there saw a person coming from the street in front of them. As soon as they saw that person, everyone opened their eyes wide. Then, like birds and beasts, they scattered and made a path for him. Walking on such a street that had suddenly become incomparably spacious, Noah felt a sense of helplessness while enduring the fearful gazes of the surrounding pedestrians. Has it really become like this? If it was said that in the past, the pedestrians often looked at Noah with awe, then now, there was only fear left. This was because the man in front of them was no longer just the famous tyrant, but a deicide, who was feared by the people. If he dared to kill a deity, then what else would he not dare to kill? Once this thought came to their minds, it was inevitable that they would look at Noah with a strong sense of fear in their eyes. Fortunately, the matter of Noah being expelled from the clan was known to everyone. Knowing that the person in front of them had received the punishment he deserved, the pedestrians felt a little comforted in their hearts. Otherwise, the people here would have run away. Fortunately, the guild and the deities gave Noah face and did not offend him too much. Otherwise, if Noah really made a scene, the residents of Eulalia would not only look at Noah with fear in their eyes, but also with complete fear. Thinking of this, Noah continued to walk in the direction of the central square under the fearful gazes of the bystanders. In the past, the closer one was to the central square, the more lively the surroundings were. But today, almost all the adventurers were talking about Noah killing a deity, so the number of adventurers who went to the dungeon was almost less than 1/10 of the usual number, making the usually bustling central square seem a little sparse. Noah walked in the direction of the dungeon under everyone's gazes. After coming to this world, he had already met the people he wanted to meet. He had also done what he had to do. He had even killed a god. Because of this, he had stirred up a storm in the city. Now, Noah had officially withdrawn from Hastia's clan. Since he had met the people he should have met, done what he should have done, and even his spawn had left, there was no reason for Noah to continue staying in this world. Therefore, Noah planned to enter the underground city directly and return to the world between worlds. He wanted to continue meeting the people and places that he had yet to catch up with. Unfortunately, this plan was not implemented in time. Just as Noah was about to enter the dungeon, a few tall figures approached and surrounded Noah. Noah suddenly stopped in his tracks and raised his head to look at the tall figure in front of him. The newcomer was clad in leather armor made from animal skin. He carried a large saber on his back. There was a scar on his face. He met Noah's gaze and grinned. "Oh. Isn't this the tyrant who was expelled from his spawn tribe? You still want to enter the dungeon after losing your ability points? Are you looking for death?" Following the ridicule of the scarred man, the other two adventurers who blocked Noah's path also laughed. "You still want to enter the dungeon after losing your ability points? Do you think you're still the omnipotent tyrant? He probably can't accept the feeling of losing his ability points and is anxious to enter the dungeon to prove himself. But isn't that looking for death? Isn't that obvious?" Bursts of harsh ridicule came from the mouths of the adventurers who blocked the way. Noah raised his eyebrows and couldn't help but feel amused. So this was the so-called, when a tiger falls to the ground, he will be bullied by dogs. In this world, there were always some fellows who took advantage of others when they were down and couldn't wait to find some sense of superiority to prove themselves. And these people were usually the most classic small characters. Noah didn't expect that he would encounter such a situation before he left. For a moment, he couldn't help but smile. However, in the eyes of these people who were anxious to find a reason to cause trouble, Noah's performance was simply the best opportunity. "What are you laughing at?" the scarred man shouted with a ferocious expression. "Do you really think you're still the tyrant? You've already lost your ability points, do you know that?" It seemed that the other party thought that Noah had lost his ability points, which was why they dared to find trouble in front of Noah. After all, they knew that Noah was the same as the ancient warriors. Even if he didn't rely on God's grace, he would still be a powerful existence. Other than the gods, only a few people were well informed. Even if the rest heard about it, they wouldn't believe it. The three adventurers in front of him obviously didn't think that the current Noah could play any tricks. Looking at these three pitiful small characters, Noah smiled slightly and said such a sentence. "I'm not in the mood to play this kind of house game with you today, so I'll give you a chance. It's not too late to leave now." Unfortunately, small characters would always be small characters. Not only did they not listen to Noah's words, but they also looked like they were looking for a sense of superiority but lost face instead. They were all angry. Around them, the adventurers who came to the central square began to pay attention to this side, and all of them began to talk about it. Just as everyone was waiting to see what would happen next, an impatient voice rang out. "Get out of my way. Don't block the way." With such a voice, in one of the directions of the central square, a group of people separated the crowd and walked in. Seeing that group of people, the three adventurers who were looking for trouble changed their expressions. "Row. Loki's family. They. Why are they here? Damn it. The people who came were the first-level adventurers of Loki's family. With Loki as the leader, Finn, Gareth, Riveria, Tiona, and even Leafia were all there. Of course, Ace was also there. This young girl with bright light golden hair that reached her waist and a pair of eyes that were as bright as the stars was following behind the Loki's family team. However, he didn't know if it was Noah's illusion or not. Noah always felt that Ace seemed to be a little afraid to look at him, but she couldn't help but secretly look at him. As soon as their eyes met, she immediately lowered her head and a faint blush appeared on her pretty face. What's wrong with this girl? Noah couldn't help but wonder. At this time, Tiona, who had just spoken, began to chase them away. I'll give you a chance. Tiona laughed playfully. It's not too late to leave now. The same sentence came from Tiona's mouth, but the three adventurers' faces turned green when they heard it. These three small fries that came out of nowhere were really small fries. Even their level was only LV1, which was even worse than Bale before he leveled up. It was because they were so weak that they couldn't understand the horror of Noah, which perfectly reflected the saying that the ignorant were fearless. And such people often bullied the weak and feared the strong. You better remember this. Leaving behind such a superficial sentence, the three small characters who had appeared out of nowhere immediately slipped away and disappeared without a trace. At this time, Loki looked at Noah, narrowed his eyes, and laughed. You bold little guy, you actually dare to walk on the street with your head held high like this. Do you really think that there's not enough trouble? I didn't do anything wrong, why can't I walk on the street? Noah shrugged and replied with a light tone. However, in the eyes of you gods, I may be regarded as unforgivable. Aren't you afraid that I'll violate the taboo again by getting close to me like this? Okay, don't scare me. It's not the first day I've known you, little guy. Loki curled his lips and said indifferently. If you were really the kind of person who would commit sins for no reason, you wouldn't have come to me to inquire about Sumo's clan because of an inconspicuous thief. That little human girl is called Lily Luca, right? It said that she's now in your clan. No, that's not right. Loki smiled suddenly. It should be said that she's in your former clan. Chapter 2018. The surrounding atmosphere suddenly became a little tense. Loki emphasized the words former spawn. In addition, there was a somewhat cunning smile on Loki's face, which perfectly illustrated his demeanor as an evil god in myths. Anyone who saw this would subconsciously think that Loki was here to add insult to injury. Even Tiona and Rifia felt that Loki was deliberately picking on Noah, and were at a loss for what to do. Wait, Loki, why did you make it sound so bad? That's right, it's like you're bullying someone. Loki didn't seem to regret his words at all after hearing Tiona and Rifia's words. He still looked at Noah with a smile on his face. Just when Noah couldn't help but want to beat Loki up, Finn, Riveria, and Gareth, the three leaders of Loki's spawn, sighed at the same time. Loki, Riveria said mercilessly. You're ugly like this, aren't you? Loki's cunning smile froze. This is jealousy, right? Gareth also mercilessly exposed the reason for Loki's attitude. You're jealous that someone stole the heart of your most beloved child. The corners of Loki's mouth began to twitch. Tiona seemed to have understood what was going on as well, and they immediately murmured to each other. I see. Is this the so-called arrogance of a god? So Loki is this ugly when he's jealous? This time, Loki couldn't help it. What do you little guys understand? Loki shouted as tears flowed down his face. My most beloved AIC has been snatched away by this guy. So what if I'm jealous? Huh? Noah was confused. He looked at Loki blankly and said. When did I steal your ace? You still deny it. Loki glared at Noah. My ace said that she has feelings for you. Loki didn't even have time to finish his sentence. Because in the next second, a long, slender leg kicked Rocky, sending him flying. The one who kicked was naturally AIC. AIC's face was completely red. She didn't even look at Loki, who was knocked into the white wall of the Tower of Babel. She stole a glance at Noah. When she saw Noah looking at her in surprise, she blushed even more. She couldn't help but cover her face with her hands and squat down. The corners of Noah's eyes twitched when he saw Ace in this state. Riveria, Tiona, Gareth, and the others looked at each other as if they had seen a ghost. To be honest, this is the first time I've seen AIC behave like a young girl. The shy AIC is so cute. So AIC has such a side to her. I've learned something new. There are benefits to living a long life. Riveria and Gareth couldn't help but sigh. While Tiona were inexplicably happy, Leafia glared fiercely at Noah as if she was looking at an enemy with deep hatred. Are you guys crazy? Noah really wanted to say that out loud. After all, the development in front of him was too inexplicable. Undoubtedly, Noah could see through Freya's conspiracy and the thoughts of the guild and the gods, but when it came to matters of the heart, he couldn't understand it at all. It wasn't that Noah's EQ was too low. Because of his first impression, Noah treated AIC as a cute little sister, so he didn't think in that direction. Naturally, he didn't know what was going on. Besides, AIC didn't give Noah the impression that she was a girl who would fall in love. A girl who pursued power all day long, even if she was so cute and beautiful, it was hard for others to imagine her in love. Therefore, even Riveria's group, who had long known the truth, were astonished. So, Noah made an assumption without permission. It seems that these people have something on AIC that they can't let me know. This guess could not be said to be wrong. It was just that it wasn't so easy to find out the truth. Seeing Noah's speechless look, Finn smiled bitterly and said so. Well, don't take it to heart. Just treat it as the usual playfulness of our clan tribe members. Maybe that's better. Noah rubbed his eyebrows, forced himself not to understand this matter, and asked straightforwardly. So, why are you looking for me? Noah also saw it. Loki's clan was here for him. We do have something important to talk to you about. Finn spread his hands. As the leader, I really want to talk to you, but since our Lord God is here, it might be more appropriate to let her talk to you. As he said so, Finn pointed in the direction of the Tower of Babel. There, Loki covered his nose and limped over. AIC is so heavy-handed, she really needs to be taught a lesson. Noah felt that the one who really needed to be taught a lesson was Loki, not AIC. If you have something to say, just say it. Noah sighed. Since you chose to come to me, the taboo God Slayer, it's definitely not as simple as catching up, right? Suddenly, everyone in Loki's clan, including Finn, quieted down. Loki also touched his red nose, but he didn't even look at Noah, as if he was chatting casually, and said so. Then I'll be straightforward. Since you left the little dwarf's clan, do you want to consider coming to me? This sentence made Noah sigh again. Obviously, Noah had already guessed Loki's intentions. I thought that even if it was you, facing someone who hurt your own clan, even if you covet it, you would have to consider it in this situation. Noah looked at Loki. If there's a God Slayer in your clan, how do you think the other clans will look at you? Just like in modern society, when people hired employees, they basically wouldn't hire those who had a criminal record. If there was a person who committed the taboo of killing a god in a clan, it would definitely attract a lot of different gazes. As long as there was an existence in this clan who dared to kill a god, it would make those who wanted to join the clan think twice. If it was Freya, she could still rely on her ability to charm people to continue to join the clan, but Loki couldn't do anything, right? In the end, Loki still came to invite Noah. Because I think you're worth it. Loki showed an arrogant smile. Besides, I don't need cowards in my clan. These were the original words of the evil god who once let a group of gods kill each other in order to relieve boredom in the heavens. That's right, others would be wary of a god slayer, but Loki wouldn't. Because this goddess was not a kind person to begin with. Moreover, this evil god was extremely biased towards the children in his clan. Therefore, Noah actually had a good impression of Loki. At that moment, Noah closed his eyes and fell into deep thought. There's a chance. The eyes of all the members of Loki's clan lit up. Including AIC, who looked at Noah with a hint of anticipation. Under such circumstances, not long after, Noah opened his eyes, looked at Loki, and stretched out 2 fingers. 2 things. If you promise me, then I'll agree. Okay. Loki said without hesitation. Say it. First, Noah said slowly. Before I die, you are never allowed to make an enemy of Hastia, and when Hastia's clan is in trouble, Loki's clan must help. What? Loki jumped up. You want me to help that shorty? Don't even think about it. Then there's nothing to say, Noah said straightforwardly. Bye-bye. Wait. Loki quickly grabbed Noah, and after hesitating for a while, clenched his teeth and nodded. Okay, before you die, if anything happens to that shorty, I will definitely help. Is that okay? Then, the second thing. Noah suddenly smiled. One day, I will return to Hastia's clan, and when that time comes, you can't refuse. Loki felt his vision go black and fell on the spot, causing the members to cry out in shock. Chapter 2019. Ah! Big loss. Big loss. In a deserted alley to the north of Eulalia, Loki was walking in front of the group while constantly shouting. I never thought that I, Loki, would suffer such a big loss one day. I really didn't expect it. The group of first-level adventurers following behind Loki were extremely helpless. Especially Noah, who didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Unfortunately, Loki was still yelling. The yelling made Loki's people feel a little annoyed. I say, are you done calling me that? Riveria raised her beautiful eyebrows. If this goes on, it will really make people feel very annoyed. Tiona and Tioni immediately agreed. Yeah. I feel a little annoyed. The words of the Amazon twins undoubtedly made Loki even more dissatisfied. Do you have any sympathy? Loki continued to sigh. I'm so sad, and you're still scolding me. How can I have a group of inconsiderate children like you? With that, Loki glanced at Noah again and sighed. Why did I agree to such a bad deal? Bad deal. It really wasn't worth it. One must know that Loki had to pay a lot to recruit Noah into his clan. Having a godslayer in the clan tribe would not only affect the clan tribe's reputation, but it would also affect the number of new members who joined the clan. Loki paid such a price to recruit Noah into his clan, but in exchange, he had to protect the clan of his sworn enemy, Hastia, for the rest of Noah's life. That was fine. If he could get Noah to join his clan, then protecting the clan of that poor godslayer for 100 years would not be a loss. The reason that really made Loki feel unbalanced was Noah's second condition. I paid so much, and in the end, it's just a temporary addition. He'll have to leave sooner or later. It's not worth it, is it? Loki kept complaining. I really want to ask myself if I had too much to drink before I agreed to this. Loki's words were not without reason. He paid so much for Noah's joining, but in the end, Noah stated that he would leave sooner or later, and they still had to fulfill the conditions they agreed to before. It was a loss no matter how he thought about it. Not to mention Loki, even Noah felt that this was a bit too much. The matter of protecting Hastia's clan could be repaid with Noah's joining. But Noah's joining was not only a benefit but also an unavoidable disadvantage. In the end, it was the title of Godslayer that caused the trouble. In fact, Noah already had a solution for this. He planned to propose it when Loki refused his conditions to prevent Loki's clan from being affected by his joining. In that way, Loki should agree. Unexpectedly, before Noah could propose the solution, Loki gritted his teeth and agreed. This surprised Noah. Who would have thought that just joining for a short period of time would cost so much, and that Loki would actually agree? It seems that this evil god appreciates him more than he thought. Seeing that Loki still had the tendency to continue complaining, Noah sighed. Well, don't look like you've been cheated by me. At least, I promise you that my joining will never bring harm to Loki's clan. Is that okay? Won't bring harm. The people of Loki's clan were startled and stopped. Won't bring harm. Loki was also surprised, and then he looked at Noah. Under the gaze of all the people of Loki's clan, Noah smiled slightly, stretched out his hand, and slowly wiped his face. What? All the people of Loki's clan exclaimed out loud. Even Aes, who had been silent, opened her pair of gem-like eyes wide and froze there. Under Noah's swipe, the face that appeared before everyone's eyes was no longer that familiar face. Instead, it was a completely unfamiliar face. It was a standard common face, the kind that would never be recognized in a crowd. Compared to this face, Noah's original appearance was many times more handsome. With such a common face, Noah opened his hand, as if showing his appearance to everyone, and said so. Now, can you still recognize me? Hearing this, everyone came to their senses. Loki, Riveria, and Rafia all cried out in surprise. Transformation magic. Yes. Transformation magic. To be more precise, it should be transformation magic. Noah infused his magic power with the imagination of transformation, changing himself into another appearance. Admittedly, in terms of magic, Noah's talent was almost in the aspect of crush, and only when using crush was the most powerful. However, that didn't mean that Noah couldn't inject his imagination into his magic. Like the magic of fire, Noah could also use it, but it was far from the level where it could be used in battle. And this transformation magic was based on the same principle. Noah could transform into the rest of his appearance by infusing his magic power into his imagination of transformation. After all, as Noah's wife, Mira not only used superb reception magic, but was also a first-class expert in transformation magic. With such a wife, although Noah didn't learn transformation magic, he had a deeper imagination in the aspect of transformation. With such a wife, he could smoothly inject his magic and use it to transform. As long as I use this appearance to join Loki's clan, then no one will know that the infamous God Slayer is in this clan, right? Noah scratched his face after the transformation and spread out his hands. This way, Loki's clan won't be implicated by me. Lord Loki, are you satisfied? Not bad, not bad. Loki nodded repeatedly. He even walked around Noah. After a while, he frowned and said, "Don't worry, Noah. However, if you only change your face, then you can still see a lot of things." Tiona, Tioni, and Lefia also nodded and spoke to each other. I always feel that I can still see the shadow of the little brother. Even if he doesn't look amazing, his temperament hasn't changed much. I also think that if you look carefully, you can still recognize Mr. Noah. The three girls' words made Finn, Riveria, and Gareth, the three leaders of Loki's clan, nod in agreement and express their opinions. This is the so-called people of noble birth. Even in their bones, there is a sense of nobility, right? Just like in the elves, the royal family will naturally have a trace of majesty, and it will be easy to be recognized by those in the know. Even if he changes his appearance, that feeling of power is still overwhelming. After everyone expressed their opinions, AIC, who was watching Noah closely, also seemed to be deep in thought. After a while, she said softly, "His presence is too strong, and he will be noticed by others at once." In one sentence, she outlined all the flaws of Noah's transformation. However, that couldn't be helped. Noah's temperament was originally more otherworldly, and his body was hosted by the third perpetual motion machine, a spirit that was the crystallization of human imagination. In addition, he was a reincarnation of a complete fragment of a starting world. No matter how ordinary he looked, he would be exposed because of a strong sense of presence. Is that so? Noah closed his eyes as expected. At this moment, the mana flowing in Noah's body like a torrent slowed down bit by bit, and finally became as slow as a snail crawling. Under such circumstances, Noah's aura, temperament, and sense of presence also weakened bit by bit, and finally converged to become like an ordinary person. Witnessing such a change in Noah with their own eyes, the people of Loki's clan were only amazed. Then, Noah opened his eyes, and a very ordinary smile appeared on his face that was not too good-looking, but also not offensive. If I converge my aura, the sense of presence will also weaken a lot. Now, is there still a way to be recognized? Looking at the young man with a smile in front of them, who was just like the most ordinary passerby, everyone was really curious. Good, there's no problem like this. Loki was even more satisfied and waved his hand. Little ones, let's go home. After saying that, Loki walked in the direction of the base camp in high spirits, and there was no more resentment at the beginning. Seeing this, everyone looked at each other and helplessly followed him. Chapter 2020. Noah had been to the base camp of Loki's clan once before. That was not long after he met Lily, when he planned to inquire about the information of Sumo's clan. At that time, in order to understand what happened to Lily, Noah went to the base camp of Loki's clan and got information about Sumo's clan from Loki. Therefore, Noah was no stranger to this place, that he had been here once, even if he was not familiar with it. It's just that, I didn't expect to come here again and become one of the residents here. At the northernmost end of Eulalie, in front of a road, Noah looked at the building in front of him and fell into a state of emotion. Just like the first time he came, the building in front of him was still strange. Undoubtedly, it did not cover a large area, but it was quite magnificent. Its height was much higher than any building in the surrounding area. It was made up of several high-rise towers overlapping, like a sword mountain, and its appearance was purple copper. The last time he came, Noah did not observe it very carefully. It was not until now that he realized that this building was really special. Behind the gate, the space in front of the building was built into a courtyard. The courtyard was not very spacious, just occupying the space between the gate and the house, and planted a few plants and flowers of various colors. As for the building behind the courtyard, it was really strange. The overlapping towers were completely connected at the bottom, but they were all separated from the middle, built into towers, just like a large steel hedgehog. Of course, the towers were not completely unconnected. Between the separated towers, there were actually corridors in the air, connecting the towers and surrounding a tower in the center. At the top of the tower, a flag with a clown pattern fluttered in the wind. That flag was the exclusive coat of arms of Loki's clan. Whether it was the appearance of the base camp or the coat of arms of the clan, they all perfectly interpreted the personality of the main god of this clan. Just like that, Loki led a group of clan tribe members and charged over in a grandiose manner. The two guards guarding the gate immediately reacted. Lord Loki! Lord Loki! Lords! The first-level adventurers of Loki's clan nodded in response. We're back. Rocky waved his hand. Open the door. Yes, sir. One of the guards answered. This. Another guard noticed Noah. Of course, that was the Noah who had completely changed his appearance. Seeing that their main god and a group of level 1 adventurers were accompanied by such a stranger, the guard asked almost reflexively. "Oh. Are you talking about this little guy?" Loki patted Noah's shoulder without changing his expression and said casually. "This is a potential stock that I've just dug up. From today onwards, he'll join our clan. Look carefully, don't mistake him. Remember to open the door for him. Otherwise, if this little guy goes out and doesn't come back, I'll make your little butts bloom." Rocky's words made the two guards cover their butts almost subconsciously, their faces turning green. Seeing this scene, Noah almost misunderstood. Could it be that Loki really hit the butts of these two guards? Just as Noah was making malicious guesses, the door had been slowly opened. "Let's go in." Loki grinned at Noah. "Let me introduce you to this place properly. If you're not familiar with it and accidentally break into a girl's room and bump into something good, I won't let you go, okay?" Noah was immediately speechless, which made AIC and the others couldn't help but laugh. However, it had to be said that such a thing was not impossible. The base camp of Loki's clan was designed in a rather peculiar manner. If one were to randomly barge in, it was entirely possible to accidentally get lost. In addition, Loki had a preference for cute and beautiful girls. Most of the female members of the clan were as beautiful as flowers. It was not impossible to enter the wrong room. Recalling that he had encountered this situation many times before, Noah secretly decided that he must find out the terrain of Loki's clan's base camp today. Under such circumstances, Loki led Noah into the mansion and began to introduce it. Unlike Hastia's clan, Loki's clan had a large family business and many rules. As the main god, Loki and Finn, as the leader, led Noah into the mansion and walked up the stairs to the top of the tower. They shuttled through the air corridors and walked to various places while introducing all kinds of things to Noah. Along the way, there were also some explanations from AIC, Tiona, Rifia, Riveria, Gareth and others. It could be said that it was not detailed. Noah, on the other hand, looked at the entire landscape of Loki's clan while listening to everyone's introductions and explanations in a seemingly casual but extremely serious manner. He memorized them in his heart. Along the way, Noah also encountered many members of Loki's clan, which attracted the attention of many people. Many members of Loki's clan cast surprised and curious gazes at him. After all, apart from Rifia, those who surrounded Noah were all the higher-ups of their own clan first-tier adventurers. Even Rifia was Riveria's heir and was destined to become a part of the higher-ups of Loki's clan in the future. With such a group of people, in addition to the main god, all surrounding Noah and introducing him to the rules of the entire base camp and clan, it was difficult not to attract attention. Many people had already begun to guess what kind of name this newcomer in front of them had that made him worthy of being served by their main gods and higher-ups. Amidst the curiosity and attention of many, Noah only finished touring the entire clan's base camp in the evening. "All that's left is your room." In the corridor of the central tower, Loki led the way forward and said this leisurely. "However, before that, it's best that you complete your sect change first." Conversion. As the name implied, it was a ritual that needed to be performed to change the clan's affiliation. Those who had joined the clan but wanted to switch to another clan must go through this ritual to truly change their affiliation. Lily, who had been transferred out of Noah's clan, had gone through such a step, so Noah was naturally no stranger to it. "Your level registered in the guild seems to be LV3, right?" Loki smirked with a seemingly malicious expression. "A few months ago, I received the favor of that shorty. Not long ago, I registered as a LV3 level 2 adventurer. Now, what is your ability value? I'm beginning to wonder. Let's hurry up." Finn and the others also began to be curious after Loki said so. Especially Ace, whose pair of gem-like eyes revealed a sense of expectation. The last time she saw Noah's ability value, it was when Noah taught Crush to Ace. At that time, Noah's ability value had already surprised Ace once. Ace was looking forward to it. She was looking forward to what kind of growth this man, who had always affected her emotions, and her companions in the clan claimed that she liked him. Of course, these people who were looking forward to seeing Noah's ability value did not know. Noah's true ability value was no longer with him. Now, Noah was in the same state as when he first entered this world, in a state where he did not receive any favors. In this way, there was naturally no such thing as conversion. However, Noah nodded very naturally and said, "Don't worry, it's fine. Then let's convert first." After speaking, the group began to rush in the direction of Loki's room. Loki's room was located on the top floor of the central tower surrounded by the rest of the towers. Everyone climbed up the spiral stairs set in the tower and came to the front of this room. Under Loki's lead, they entered together. It was a very sloppy room. Every corner of the room was stuffed with all kinds of miscellaneous items. There were also many small wine cabinets with bottles of wine inside. It was enough to see the hobbies of the owner of the room. Everyone looked at the messy room and was speechless for a moment. Only Loki walked in as if it was natural. Out of nowhere, he took out 2 stools and placed them in the center of the room. He sat down first and called out to Noah. "Take off your shirt and come sit down." Hearing this, Noah did not do as he was told. Instead, he looked at Ace and the others and said in a strange tone, "Are you all planning to watch from here?" Everyone immediately showed a mocking expression. Obviously, these people were all planning to watch from here. Noah could only roll his eyes. Then, he did not refuse. He took off his coat and unbuttoned his shirt, revealing his upper body. "Wow, that's quite sturdy." Diona and Tiona stared at Noah's shirtless appearance with shining eyes. Ace and Leafia, who had never seen the body of the opposite sex, blushed fiercely and became shy. However, everyone seemed to have understood what he meant. They turned their gazes and looked behind Noah. Then, everyone on the scene saw it. On Noah's back, there was a huge inscription that covered almost all of Noah's back. It was imprinted in everyone's eyes. However, the inscription was somewhat dim, and even the color had faded a lot, making it impossible for others to see the message engraved on it. It was a sign that the ability value was in a sealed state. It had not been activated, and there were no signs of it increasing. Although Noah did not have the so-called ability value now, the grace engraved on his back was just a fake. Chapter 2021. At this moment, the ability value engraved on Noah's back was naturally fake. Although he had a good relationship with the upper echelons of Loki's clan, it was only good. It was not to the extent that Noah would confess everything to Loki and the others. Therefore, when he decided to join Loki's clan, Noah had already used magic power to imitate a fake ability value in order to deceive the people of Loki's clan. Of course, while using magic power to imitate the ability value, Noah also converted a part of the magic power in his body into divine power, so that the ability value would have the aura of divine blood. Otherwise, the ability value imitated would definitely be seen through by Loki, who had engraved the ability value countless times. Only the sacred text dripped with divine blood was the true grace of God. Therefore, when operating the divine power from Hestia's divine blood, the sacred text Noah used magic power to engrave on his back could also be regarded as an authentic ability value. The only difference was that it had no effect. Thus, under the gaze of everyone present, Noah sat down with his back facing Loki. Loki revealed a cunning smile that was very characteristic of him. "Didn't that shorty's most precious child fall into my hands in the end? Let me remind you that the matter of me joining your clan is a secret. You can't mention it to Hestia," Noah warned. "If you deliberately provoke Hestia, I'll leave immediately." Loki, whose thoughts were seen through, was suddenly speechless. Then, he glared at Noah hatefully and muttered, I'm simply looking for trouble to provoke a guy like you who has no taboos. With such a sentence, Loki took out a needle and pierced his finger, letting a drop of divine blood seep out. Without any hesitation, Loki stained the drop of divine blood on the engraving on Noah's back. Clang! The engraving that was like an inscription suddenly bloomed with a faint blue light. Under the faint blue light, Loki began to slide his finger and change the origin. Following Loki's movements, the engraving on Noah's back that could not be seen clearly began to move rhythmically and gradually changed. Of course, this phenomenon was completely carried out by Noah and Loki. Noah had gone through many skill upgrades in the past. Therefore, Loki only needed to slide her fingers and feel the trajectory of her fingertips. Noah knew what she was going to do. Therefore, Noah cooperated with Loki's movements and allowed the magic power and divine power in his body to work at the same time, changing the ability value that appeared behind him. Not long after, the engraving on Noah's back changed completely. The divine text did not change much though. However, the pattern that set off the sacred words had changed. Different chief gods' depictions of the grace presented in different appearances. There was a picture of a furnace in Hastia's drawing. The ability value that Loki engraved was very easy to imagine. It was the pattern of the clan tribe's coat of arms. Under such circumstances, the engraving on Noah's back had changed completely and turned into the pattern of a clown's face. As the light faded, the ability value behind Noah's back was completely revealed. Loki, Aes, Riveria, and Rafia, who could read the divine text, immediately went up to him. Noah Doria LV. For strength, A. 846, durability, A. 868, dexterity, A. 855, agility, A. 873, magic power, A. 842, mystery, H. Magic guide, I. Swordsman, I. Magic, magic cannon, projectile magic. Extremely malleable. According to the different chanting methods, the power and scale can be changed. Strengthening, permanent magic. Ability value has been comprehensively improved. According to the amount of spiritual power, magic power, consumed, the degree is determined. Materialization, imitation magic. Only limited to imagination. When the imagination is too weak, the power decreases and there is a certain chance of failure. Skills, protection from the world of permanent skill. Equivalent to luck. Events that are directly related to luck will eventually lead to the most favorable result. Looking at the ability value that gradually appeared, Loki, Aes, Rafia, and Riveria all fell into silence. What's wrong? Tiona couldn't help but ask. Could it be that little brother's ability value has some surprising part? Tiona, Finn, and Gareth also looked at Aes, Rafia, and Riveria, and there was the same question in their eyes as Tiona. In this regard, not to mention Aes, Rafia, and Riveria both smiled bitterly. The last time we saw Noah's ability value, he was only LV2, right? Riveria said with a sigh. But now, he is already LV4, and his all-around ability value has reached stage A. Tiona, Finn, and Garrett's eyes twitched fiercely. That's not all, is it? Leafia explained as if she was using both her hands and legs. Last time, when we saw Mr. Noah's ability value, Mr. Noah's 3 magic columns were still empty, but now they are all empty. In other words, in just a few months, Noah not only jumped from LV2 to LV4, but also mastered 3 spells. In terms of growth speed alone, it could almost be described as breaking through the sky. I don't know what to say. Loki touched his forehead as if he was trying his best to correct his worldview that was about to be distorted. He withdrew his gaze from Noah and threw out such a sentence. Now, even if this kid jumps to LV7, I won't be surprised. Hearing this, everyone present looked at each other, and they didn't know what to say for a while. Only Aes, there was obvious envy in her eyes. He's really growing fast, It would be great if he could grow as fast as Wayuhao. Under the indescribable expressions and eyes of everyone present, Noah muttered in his heart. Surprised just like that. It must be known that before his ability value entered the sublimation stage, Noah had repeatedly achieved miraculous feats in the box court. He had even killed 2 humans in the final trial. God knows how many gods and Buddhas he had slaughtered. His level had long surpassed the highest level in this world, LV 7. If these people knew his true ability value state, wouldn't they be confused? Fortunately, the ability value he imitated was the state he was in when he left this world last time, and not the state he was in at his peak. As for the 3 spells, Noah added them according to his own magic canon, enhancement, and magic power. In this way, when he used the magic canon and magic power in front of the members of Loki's clan in the future, it would not arouse the suspicion of those who did not know his true identity. After all, the existence that could use many magical means different from grace was currently limited to a tyrant, not a newcomer who had just joined Loki's clan today. Seeing that Loki was complaining again and again, but in fact, he did not hesitate to accept him and accept his unreasonable conditions, Noah had to do it thoroughly no matter what to avoid exposing his identity and bringing trouble to Loki's clan. Moreover, Noah withdrew from Hestia's clan in order to avoid the limelight. Hiding his identity like this and disappearing in public was undoubtedly the easiest way to calm down the limelight. But, as Riveria said, you really do have a mysterious ability to develop, don't you? Loki said with a smile. There are less than 5 development abilities in all of Eulalia, and I finally picked one up. It's just that this swordsman, that increases the power of the sword system, and magician, that increases the effect of magic, actually appeared on the same person at the same time. It's really interesting. With that said, Loki once again dripped divine blood on Noah's back. With a light stroke, the ability value that appeared on Noah's back rippled like water and gradually disappeared. Okay, I've added a lock for you. Loki patted Noah's back. So the change is complete. I'll take care of you in the future, little guy. Since you're taking care of me, then don't call me little guy. Noah curled his lips. I have a name. But, how should we call you? Finty asked. We can't call you by your real name, right? Hearing this, Noah also frowned. However, in the next second, Noah's brows relaxed and he smiled faintly. In that case, you can call me Drake from now on. Chapter 2022. Recruiting Noah into his clan seemed to really make Loki very happy. Therefore, as soon as the change was completed, the goddess completely revealed her true form. She opened a few bottles of wine in the room and actually started a banquet on her own. For a moment, the smell of wine filled the entire room, making Rafia and Riveria frown. As pure and beautiful elves, Rafia and Riveria didn't like wine from the bottom of their hearts. Even if they drank, they would never drink too much. How could they be like Loki, who opened a few bottles at a time? But Loki didn't care at all, displaying the greatest characteristic of a god who loved entertainment: willful and reckless. Therefore, everyone present was asked to stay by Loki, and under Loki's ruckus, they had no choice but to drink wine. They drank until the sky turned dark. It wasn't until the dusk and the sky began to fade that Loki's door was rudely pushed open. I say, do you still want to eat or not? The one who spoke in such a rude and impolite tone and walked in from the door was an extremely handsome werewolf youth with a lightning-shaped tattoo on his face. Impressively, it was the last level 1 adventurer of Loki's clan, Bert. Looking at the werewolf who he hadn't seen for a long time, Noah, who was being hugged by Loki's shoulder and had a bottle of wine stuffed in his hand, glanced over. Although the relationship between Hestia and Loki was like fire and water, because Loki appreciated Noah very much, he didn't restrict the relationship between the children of his clan and Noah. Noah was quite familiar with the higher-ups of Loki's clan, and now that he had joined this clan, there was nothing to be restrained about. The rest of the members of Loki's clan were complete strangers to Noah. Except for Bert. If there was anyone in Loki's clan who didn't have a good relationship with Noah, it would be Bert. After all, when they first met, this unruly werewolf found trouble with Noah. Noah wanted to know what kind of expression Bert would have when he knew his true identity. Bert was also a high-ranking member of Loki's clan. So, Loki and Finn should have told this secret to Bert, right? Who would have thought that Rocky didn't even have the slightest hint of an explanation? He just grinned at Bert. What? So it's Bert. You idiot goddess, I was wondering what you were doing. So you were forcing everyone to drink with you. Bert glared at Loki fiercely. Everyone should eat together. Undoubtedly, it was you, the goddess, who made this rule, but now you're the first to skip dinner. What are you thinking? In Loki's clan, Loki did have a rule that everyone had to eat together. Noah also knew about this rule, and at the same time, he also had a good impression of this rule. The reason was simple. This way, they would be more like a family. Loki, on the other hand, didn't seem to notice the time until now. He slapped his head. Oh no, I was so happy that I completely forgot about dinner. Don't tell me everyone is waiting in the restaurant. Isn't that obvious? Bo-Tay almost flipped out. The level 1 adventurers aren't all here yet. Who dares to eat? That's true. Finn put down the bottle in his hand and exhaled. He seemed to have recovered from his shock and stood up. Everyone, hurry up and eat. Don't let everyone wait too long. Everyone immediately stood up as if relieved of a heavy burden. Great, I've been wanting to slip away for a long time. Tiona, if we keep drinking like this, we'll definitely be drunk by Loki. Tiona, remember the last time Loki got drunk, Leafia was almost carried back to her room by Loki? Gareth, in the end, I intervened in time and saved Leafia. Otherwise, who knows how she would have been bullied. Riveria, everyone's relieved words made Leafia recall what happened at that time. Her pretty face paled. Obviously, for Leafia, it was definitely something that could be called a psychological shadow. AIC gently patted Rifia's back as if she was comforting her, causing Rifia to be touched. And Noah, who inadvertently found out something that he shouldn't know, was speechless. It seemed like this clan of one of the two monarchs known as Eulalie was much happier than he imagined. At that moment, Bo-Tay finally noticed Noah. Looking at the unfamiliar face, Bo-Tay pursed his brows. Who is this? Bo-Tay's impolite tone would definitely make one think that he was looking for trouble. However, it was similar to the first time Noah met Bo-Tay. It seemed like this werewolf had always used such an unpleasant tone to speak. Just as this thought flashed through Noah's mind, Finn smiled and said so. This is a new bee that we poached when we went out at noon. For the next period of time, we'll be together. As a senior, don't be rude, okay? Bo-Tay raised his brows after hearing Finn's introduction, while Noah was puzzled. What's going on? Why don't they reveal my identity? Logically speaking, as a higher-up of the clan, Bo-Tay should have the right to know my true identity, right? Finn, Riveria, Gareth, AIC, Tiona, Tiny, and even Leafia knew my true identity. Only Bo-Tay, the last higher-up of Rocky's clan, didn't know about it. Wouldn't it be too easy for others to think that they were ostracizing him and causing a dispute? As the leader of a large clan, Finn's approach wasn't worth advocating, right? Not to mention Noah, even AIC and the rest couldn't help but be taken aback. It was apparent that the rest didn't know the reason why Rocky and Finn chose to hide Bo-Tay's identity. But in the next second, Bo-Tay answered everyone's question. When did all of you have so much free time to care about such a small fry? Bo-Tay curled his lips in disdain. I thought all of you went to look for that Noah Doria collectively. I was thinking that if it was because of him that you skipped dinner and made everyone wait in the dining hall, I'll definitely teach him a lesson. While saying this, Bert gnashed his teeth in hatred, causing Noah and the others to come to a sudden realization. So it's because I don't get along with this guy, and once my identity is revealed, it will cause a bigger dispute, so Rocky and Finn chose to hide it? Come to think of it, it makes sense. If Noah was a member of Rocky's clan in the future, it wouldn't be a good decision to hide it. But Noah would have to leave in the end. Since that's the case, rather than revealing it and causing a bigger dispute, it's better to keep it a secret. Noah took the liberty to think so. However, Noah didn't know that. Indeed, once his identity was revealed, he would definitely have a dispute with Bo-Tay. But it definitely wasn't just because of their relationship. Finn, Riveria, Gareth, Tiona, Tyogny, and Leafia all turned their gazes towards AIC. AIC was startled and tilted her head with a puzzled expression. The same thought appeared in everyone's mind as they looked at AIC and Noah, who seemed to have come to a sudden realization. If Bert knew that the person AIC liked was here and had even joined the clan tribe, that wolf would definitely explode from anger. After knowing that AIC liked Noah, Bo-Tay was petrified and stayed there for an entire day. Then, he clamored to find Noah for a duel, which almost scared everyone to death. Everyone spent a lot of effort to stop this werewolf who went berserk because of heartbreak. If Noah's identity was revealed here, it would definitely be out of control. With this thought in mind, everyone made up their minds. Noah's true identity must not be revealed to Bo-Tay. Absolutely. Anyway, let's go to the dining hall first, Finn said. No. Drake, you'll sit with us. I'll introduce you to everyone in the dining hall. Noah had no objection and nodded indifferently. Bo-Tay, on the other hand, had an objection. Hey! Are you kidding me? Bo-Tay said unhappily. What's the benefit of letting such a small fry sit at the table of us level 1 adventurers? As soon as Bo-Tay finished his sentence, Tiona and Tyogny held Bo-Tay down. Yes, 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 you're the best. The others are small fries, okay? Hurry up and eat, and shut your mouth properly. Don't offend people. With that said, Tiona lifted Bert out of the room in a huff. What are you doing? Bo-Tay struggled. Did I say anything wrong? You idiot Amazons. The twin Amazons didn't care about Bo-Tay at all. They carried Bo-Tay out of the dining hall and disappeared in the direction of the door. Seeing this, everyone was speechless. Don't blame him, he's just a person with a big mouth. It's easy for him to offend people, Riveria said to Noah. Actually, he's not that bad of a guy, probably. Noah immediately rolled his eyes. What did she mean by probably? In short, Noah. No, Mr. Drake, it's best if you don't expose your identity, Leafia quickly said. Otherwise, something will happen. I know. Noah sighed. I'll try my best. On the side, AIC seemed to be apologetic and lowered her head at Noah. Seeing this, Noah had a feeling. His life from now on should be more exciting than before. Chapter 2023. Time quietly passed as Loki's clan welcomed an unknown newcomer. Soon, it was the second day. When the sun began to shine through the window and hit Noah's face, Noah gradually woke up with a warm and soft feeling. The sun shone on the body, and in the cold morning, it naturally brought a warm feeling. The room prepared by Loki's clan for important members was also considered comfortable. The blanket didn't feel rough at all, and Noah couldn't help but hug the soft object tightly. Ugh! In the next second, a soft moan entered Noah's ears. Soft moan. Did the blanket make a sound? Of course, that's impossible. If that's the case, then what is this soft object? Noah instantly woke up. Master, ugh, ugh. Following these 3 soft moans, Noah finally understood what the soft object was. It wasn't a blanket, but it was more comfortable to touch than the highest grade blanket. The one that was tightly hugged by Noah was Aster. Master. Aster seemed to still be asleep. While hugging Noah's neck, she rubbed against Noah's chest with a peaceful expression. Of course, Aster was still completely naked, only wearing a pair of knee socks on her slender legs. The soft and dazzling silver hair draped over Aster's back, and even draped over Noah's body, tickling Noah's chest a little. That appearance was simply like a lazy kitten. The immature but incomparably cute elf girl was just like before. When there was no one around Noah, once she woke up in the morning, she would unknowingly become his sleeping partner. Other than Aster, Orpheus and Lilith had also appeared on the bed. They were hugging Noah tightly, one on the left and one on the right. Although there was no expression on their faces, their breathing was relatively stable. It seemed that they had slept well. The three petite girls who had formed a contract with Noah tightly stuck to Noah and were immersed in their dreams. Moreover, in addition to Aster, even Orpheus and Lilith were completely naked, only wearing black knee socks. Looking at the three girls who were not stingy with their delicate bodies exposed in front of him, Noah really couldn't help but bitterly smile. Orpheus and Lilith have learned bad things from Aster. After all, the dragon gods who didn't know much about worldly affairs liked to eat the most, followed by imitating. This getup was probably done by imitating Aster, wasn't it? Don't tell me, this will become my sleeping partner's outfit in the future. Noah's face started to become a bit dark. I hope that there won't be any tricks at this time, such as someone suddenly barging in, seeing this scene, and then having a misunderstanding. Although Noah and the people of Loki's family weren't familiar to the extent that they could wake each other up, it was right. Thinking of this, Noah could only smile bitterly while stroking the soft waist-length hair of Aster, Orpheus, and Lilith. Ever since the interior of the gift card had been transformed into a holiday paradise, the number of people accompanying Noah had also increased. Aster, Athena, Orpheus, Lilith and the rest of the girls seemed to have completely settled down in the gift card. They accompanied each other and rarely took the initiative to appear. Perhaps it was also because of the congenial nature of these young ladies. After all, in addition to Athena, Aster, Orpheus, and Lilith were all ignorant of worldly affairs and had an innocent character. Usually, they were also expressionless, so it would be strange if they repelled each other when together. It's just that, having to take care of these three girls should be very troublesome for Athena, right? As soon as he finished speaking, Athena's voice rang in his ears. I'm really touched that you're considerate of me. Hearing Athena's voice, Noah wasn't surprised at all. Turning his head, he looked at the side of the bed. There, Athena was looking out of the window. Her beautiful snake eyes flickered with wisdom that others couldn't perceive. She glanced at Noah. If it weren't for the fact that I've taken care of many young warriors in the past, I wouldn't know how to deal with these children. I think that taking care of warriors and taking care of children shouldn't be the same thing. Noah said somewhat helplessly. But, you seem to be enjoying it. I don't deny that I don't hate to get along with these girls. Athena turned her eyes and looked at Aster, Orpheus, and Lilith. After all, I'm now an elf that was reincarnated based on the existence of the holy sword spirit in your arms. The two dragon gods are the end of the dragon and snake that symbolize infinity and immortality. For me, who used to treat the dragon and snake as my kin and am the goddess of snakes, these three are the subjects that I desire to observe. Observe? Noah was surprised. You're still doing this kind of thing. Observation is the best way to accumulate knowledge and enrich one's thoughts, followed by thinking. No matter what, I was once the goddess of wisdom. It's not a bad idea for me to occasionally do the work of a scholar, Athena said nonchalantly. No matter what, because of you, this concubine and these children will be together for a very, very long time. After saying this, Athena's body glowed with phosphorescent light. Gradually, she turned into light particles and disappeared, returning to the gift card. Looking at Athena like this, Noah pursed his lips. After saying so many mysterious words, isn't it to tell me that you don't hate your current life? If that's the case, can't she just say it frankly? With such an annoyed and funny thought, Noah got up quietly, put the 3 girls who were still sleeping into the gift cart, put on his clothes, and walked out of the room. Adventurers were used to waking up early. Although there were also adventurers who explored the maze in the middle of the night, it was not a common thing. Adventurers were usually active during the day. As a typical exploration-type kin, almost all of the members of Loki's kin were adventurers. Therefore, even though the sky had just brightened, many figures appeared in the stairs and corridors of the towers, walking back and forth. After Noah came out of the room, he also met many people. "Good morning, Drager." "Good morning." You're called Drager, right?" "Good morning." One by one, the passing members greeted Noah. Their attitudes weren't exactly warm, but they weren't too unfamiliar with him either. For a newcomer who had just joined the clan, this kind of greeting could definitely make people feel warm. Noah was no exception. While returning the greeting to the passing members, he continued to walk forward. Yesterday, in the restaurant, Finn had introduced Noah to the entire Loki clan, letting everyone know Noah. Therefore, all the members of Loki clan already knew that from today onwards, a newcomer named Drager had joined this clan. However, although he was a newcomer, the members of Loki clan did not dare to treat Noah as a fledgling rookie at all. As for Noah's true identity, Finn and the others concealed it. But for the fake identity of Drager, Finn gave all the members of Loki clan a sentence. Drager came here from outside Eulalie. He used to belong to a clan outside the city. His level has reached LV4, which is only 1 or 2 levels lower than us level 1 adventurers. So, you must not underestimate him. At this point, everyone knew that this newcomer's level was as high as LV4. In the Loki clan, except for the high-level level 1 adventurers, it was already the highest level. Therefore, no one would treat Noah as a real newcomer. If he had the ability, he would be respected by others no matter where he went. Especially in the clan, it was a perfect interpretation of this point. So, Noah walked out of the corridor under the greeting of his new companions in the clan and came to the air corridor connected to another tower. At this time, Noah saw the scene in the courtyard of the base camp through the window of the air corridor. There, a beautiful girl with blonde hair and golden eyes was holding a thin sword in her hand. As if dancing, she was stepping on sharp and crisp steps, dancing with her swordsmanship to her heart's content. There was no doubt that the girl was practicing in the morning. Looking at the girl practicing swordsmanship in the courtyard, Noah raised his eyebrows slightly. Chapter 2024. Clang! A clear and audible sound of the sword resounded over the courtyard. Ha! The golden-haired, golden-eyed girl let out a pleasant cry. The thin, silver-like sword in her hand turned into an endless stream of sword shadows, like layers upon layers of waves. Wave after wave surged in all directions, piercing out streaks of silver trajectories. The sharp sword aura seemed to have been stimulated by that swing and stab. Like an invisible gale, it either streaked across the ground or swept through the surrounding flowers and plants, causing the greenery in all directions to ripple under the gale, causing the flowers and trees to sway back and forth, which was pleasing to the eye. That scene was simply like walking out from a dream. It was extremely beautiful. AIC was so single-minded in her sword dance. That was AIC's daily homework. Since joining the Rocky clan and becoming an adventurer, as long as she was in the base, AIC would finish this set of homework almost every morning. Even though AIC, as a person from the lower realm who had received God's grace, even if she didn't train so hard, she could still rely on killing monsters in the underground city to gain experience points and increase her ability points to become stronger. However, AIC wouldn't be satisfied with that level of progress. This girl had always been pursuing strength. So, in the underground city, the girl worked harder than anyone else, trying to gain more experience points and grow. It was because of this that the girl got the nickname Warrior. And even if she was not in the underground city, the girl worked harder than anyone else to train herself. As an existence at the top of the adventurers, AIC, who had reached LV6, understood better than anyone that even with the enhancement of ability value, if she wanted to be really strong, it was absolutely not enough. A really strong person, in addition to having strength, also needed skill. As Luo Hao said, only when the combination of strength and skill reached the peak of both, that was the real invincible. Therefore, when AIC was in the underground city, she would pursue the opportunity to improve her ability value to get strength, and when she was in the base, she would pursue the opportunity to improve her swordsmanship to get skill. It was because of the combination of the two that AIC became the strongest swordswoman in Eulalia. Her companions in the clan knew that at this time, AIC would be in the courtyard practicing in the morning. Because of this, the members of the clan had reached a tacit understanding that during this time, they would never come to the courtyard to disturb AIC. AIC practiced her swordsmanship wholeheartedly. Sometimes, she made a lightning-like thrust. Sometimes, she made a windmill slash. Sometimes, she made a waterfall-like slash. Sometimes, she made a light slash. Although each move was not complicated, it was quite gorgeous and straightforward, giving people a feeling that it existed only for battle. AIC's concentration had reached a shocking level. She didn't even notice that someone was approaching her. AIC continued to stab, slash, hack, and flick repeatedly. So, under the gaze of the only spectator, AIC finished practicing the sword skills that she had been repeating over and over again. Until the sun rose high in the sky, the earth. SW-. Accompanied by the whistling of the wind, AIC smoothly sheathed the thin sword in her hand into the scabbard at her waist, ending today's practice. Phew, at this time, AIC let out a sigh of relief and relaxed her tense body. At this moment, a round of applause rang out. AIC was stunned. She turned her head and looked at the source of the sound. Immediately, a rather unfamiliar face was imprinted in AIC's eyes. Your swordsmanship is really good. Noah clapped and made an evaluation that only he could understand. Even compared to Alusha, it's still comparable, right? Who is Alusha? This question flashed through AIC's mind. Then, AIC seemed to have thought of something extremely important and spoke with uncertainty. Noah. Looking at AIC's expression of wanting to recognize him but being afraid of getting the wrong person, Noah stopped clapping and fell into a state of speechlessness. After a long while, he finally said in a puzzled tone, "You're right. Don't tell me you forgot about me." No. No. AIC shook her head and lowered it again. I'm just not used to seeing you like this. Then get used to it as soon as possible. Don't reveal any flaws in front of your companions in the clan tribe. Noah rolled his eyes. Also, you should call me Drake, not Noah. Be careful not to be accidentally heard by others. AIC nodded as if she had agreed. Noah walked over and stood in front of AIC. He looked into AIC's crystal-clear eyes. Looking at the sword in AIC's hand, Noah spoke softly. Do you often practice swordsmanship in the morning? If I'm not in the underground city, AIC answered truthfully. In the stronghold, I usually practice. What about magic? Noah continued to ask. Didn't you say last time that you would use the morning to practice crush? I'm about to start. AIC was still concise. After practicing swordsmanship, it's time to practice magic. Then, you practiced until noon, only to be stopped by Riveria. Noah said. After being stopped, you went to the underground city and stayed there until night. When you came back, you slept until the next day and continued the same routine. AIC was suddenly stunned. It was as if she was saying, "How did you know?" Noah was really speechless. "Aren't you a little too hardworking?" Noah scratched his cheek. "I feel like I'm comparable to when I went deep into the mountains and forests to practice for a few years. Back then." AIC noticed the key point in Noah's words. "Don't you continue now? You still continue in the past, right?" Noah couldn't help but smile bitterly. "But, after a certain incident, you didn't continue anymore." The certain incident here was the incident where Noah killed God and became the God-slayer. Before that, in order to hone his skills, or to prevent his movements from becoming sluggish, Noah still persisted in training himself. But, after becoming the God-slayer, which violated the rules, Noah no longer needed to do so. After all, as a God-slayer, once he entered battle mode, Noah would be able to exert his full strength. His skills and movements would never become sluggish or rusty because of lack of training. In addition, the God-slayer's characteristics of getting stronger the more he fought and the stronger the opponent. Noah hadn't seriously trained his skills for a long time. At most, he would develop new abilities and powers just like in the previous world. Thinking until here, Noah looked at the sword in AIC's hand and said, "This is a rare opportunity. Do you want to try sparring?" Hearing this, AIC's eyes lit up. She nodded without hesitation. In the hall on the first floor, Riveria and Rafia slowly walked down the stairs. The two elves were holding thick books in their hands while discussing the problems of magic. Of course, rather than saying that they were discussing, it was more like Riveria was teaching Rafia. As Riveria's future successor, Rafia was like Riveria's disciple. She had always been receiving guidance from Riveria. The two discussed the problems of magic while heading to the courtyard. However, before they arrived at the courtyard outside, Riveria and Leafia noticed a commotion. At the periphery of the courtyard, a group of people were gathered in a circle. They were pointing at the front and discussing animatedly. "Ha!" Leafia blinked her eyes, somewhat at a loss. "What's the matter?" Riveria also frowned, stepped forward, and spoke directly. "What are you doing? Why are you all gathered in this place?" Riveria's voice made everyone turn their heads. Only then did Riveria realize that Tiona and Tiona were also in the crowd. Riveria, Rafia, Tiona greeted with some excitement. "You're here too. Could it be that you also noticed the commotion and came over?" Tiona said. "You came at the right time. It's just about the exciting part." "Exciting part?" Riveria frowned. "Exciting part?" Rafia was also puzzled. "What happened?" Tiona and Tiona didn't answer. Instead, they moved aside. In the next moment, Riveria and Rafia saw the scene. It was an exciting battle. Chapter 2025. Clang Dash. The crisp sound of steel clashing rang. That was the sound of swords colliding with each other. In the courtyard that covered a small area, in the space, two figures were holding sword-type weapons in each other's hands. They were dancing and slashing at each other. Clang dash. A melodious sword hum resounded in the air. Clang dash. The swords clashed with each other again, and the collision and the sword marks that had not been completely eliminated caused a sound. The swords were intertwined. Sparks were flying. In the small courtyard, a wonderful battle was going on. Everyone looked at the most direct collision between the swords, and they all fell into amazement. It was a combination of a man and a woman who were fighting. As companions, the members of Loki's clan who were present naturally knew the two people. Not to mention, the two people were famous in various aspects. One was the female swordsman who had been the target of everyone in the clan for many years. The other was a newcomer who had just joined yesterday, but had already reached LV4. Noah and AIC, under the gaze of a group of Loki's clan members who had gathered unknowingly, carried out a wonderful attack and defense battle. The attacking party was AIC. AIC was holding the sword that she usually used for practice. With a serious expression that had never been seen before, she swung out a silver slash at a speed that no one could see clearly. The girl who was given the title of a swordswoman by the gods was undoubtedly the best in the city where there were many families and adventurers. Almost everyone present had seen the scene of the girl cutting the monster's body into pieces in the underground city. Naturally, they understood how deadly the silver slash was. In the face of that terrible slash, even if it was the first-level adventurer who was also LV6, if he was not careful, he could be beheaded. However, in the face of such a stunning slash, Noah, who focused on defense, accurately received it completely. Facing the fast slash of the sword, the man flicked it away like a gust of wind. The girl continued to attack without hesitation. The weapon in her hand stabbed out violently, intertwining with endless sword light, completely enveloping the man's body. However, the man's expression did not change as he raised the weapon in his hand. With lightning speed, he deflected the sword light one by one. In the end, he swung down like a whirlwind, forcing the girl to retreat. Clang, 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 clang. For a moment, the sound of sword and halberd kept ringing, accompanied by bursts of scattered sparks, reverberating in the space of the entire courtyard. At this moment, the man and woman both turned into the most gorgeous swordsmen, causing dazzling sword light and resplendent trajectories to constantly appear in this space. It was an extremely shocking sight. Therefore, as spectators, the members of Loki's clan were all intoxicated, and they were all talking. "It's really amazing, yeah, I didn't expect that the newcomer Drager to be able to keep up with Miss Ace's sword. Are the two of them sparring? That's great, I also want to practice with Miss AI." While the members of Loki's clan were talking, Riveria and Raphael looked at each other with indescribable expressions. Didn't this Noah Dole say that he wanted to hide his identity? Riveria muttered to herself as if she had a headache. Since he wants to hide his identity, then don't be so eye-catching. He's only LV4, but he's already practicing with the LV6 cadre. Isn't this telling everyone that he can challenge those above his level? That's right. Leafia said sourly. Mr. Noah is really too cunning. Undoubtedly, Miss AI has that kind of feeling for him, and he's still hanging out with Miss AI, compared to Riveria, who was having a headache, and Rafia, who was inexplicably jealous. Tiona and Tioni were watching with great interest. Looking at it this way, little brother and AI are actually quite compatible, aren't they? Even I want to matchmake the two of them. Just when everyone was talking, Noah and AI completed another attack and defense. Clang! After a loud collision that was louder than any of the previous collisions, AIC was once again pushed back by the heavy blow. She tapped the ground with the tip of her feet and leaped away nimbly. She landed not far away from Noah and began to gasp for breath. Compared to AI, Noah's face was not red and he was not panting at all. Obviously, he still had energy left. Seeing that AI began to gasp for breath, Noah also exhaled, lowered the sword in his hand, and said so. Let's stop here. Hearing this, AI showed a somewhat reluctant expression and seemed to want to continue. However, the two were only having a morning exercise after all, and it was not a real battle. There was no need to determine the winner. Therefore, although she wanted to continue, after hesitating for a while, AI still put away the sword in her hand. Clap, 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 clap. At this moment, the sound of applause sounded like a wave, and it reached Noah and AI's ears, attracting their attention. Gazing at the clan members gathered at the entrance of the mansion, AIC blinked her eyes as though she had just realized that she was being watched. Noah was a little helpless. Indeed, it's a little too eye-catching. Under such circumstances, Riveria began to speak among the crowd. All right, you've seen enough. Don't all gather here, go do your own things. Yes. The group of Loki clan members responded one after another, and they gradually dispersed while discussing in high spirits. Only then did Tioni, and Leafia came closer. Both of you have worked hard for the morning exercise. Tiona held 2 cups of water in her hands, bounced over in an extremely lively manner, and shared it with Noah and AI. Come, drink some water. Tiona. AIC subconsciously took the water from her. Why are you all here? Noah also took the water, but asked such a question. In response, Tioni just answered as if it was a matter of course. You all made such a big commotion, and the sound of weapons clashing could be heard from the top of the tower. Who would have noticed? We only noticed when we came down. Leafia, on the other hand, had a sullen look on her face. Then we found Miss AI and Mr. Noah sparring here. Not Noah, it's Drake. Noah corrected her expressionlessly. It's just morning exercise, don't make a fuss about it. For morning exercise, that level of attack and defense is a little too much. Riveria sighed. But for you all, if it's not that level, then it's not considered morning exercise, right? I'm just accompanying AI. Noah finished the water in the cup in his hand and returned it to Tiona. Then, he turned to Riveria and said, Don't worry. Now it's time for you to accompany AI to practice magic, right? Then I'll go back to my room first. No, I didn't come down just to find AI, but also to find all of you. Riveria looked at Noah, AI, Tiona, and Tioni, and said so. Go to Finn's place. Finn. Everyone was slightly stunned. The leader wants to discuss the next matters with us. Leafia explained. It's about the upcoming expedition. The central tower of Loki's clan base was surrounded by a total of 7 towers. The lower half of the towers were connected together, and although the upper half was separated, there was a corridor in the air connecting them. Only the central tower was independent. As the main god, Loki's room was located on the top floor of the central tower. As for the rest of the clan, almost all of them were distributed among the 7 towers. Among the 7 towers, 3 of them were allocated to the male members, while the other 4 were allocated to the female members, who were more numerous in number. Noah, Finn, Gareth, and Bert lived in the 3 towers, and their positions were quite scattered. There was no pattern at all, and it was very messy. Finn's room and office were located in the northern tower. Finn. Everyone came here together, and Riveria knocked on the door of Finn's office. I brought them here. Just as Riveria's voice fell, Finn's voice sounded. Come in. Hearing this, Riveria directly opened the door and led everyone into Finn's office. Chapter 2026. As soon as they entered the room, Noah and the others immediately saw Finn sitting behind a desk that did not match his size at all. In addition to Finn, Gareth was also present. In addition to Riveria, Ace, Tiona, and Tioni, all of the higher-ups of Loki's clan were gathered together except for Bert. This time, it's not us who's ostracizing Bert. Gareth grinned. Bert is preparing for the expedition. Later, we'll tell him what we've discussed. Everyone suddenly understood. Leafia closed the door, then shrunk into the corner and did not say a word. In such an occasion, Leafia, who was still a basic staff member, could not interrupt. Sorry for calling all of you here so early. Finn smiled at everyone. But there's not much time left before the expedition. Yesterday, we wasted a whole day because of Noah and Loki's matter and basically threw all the work to Bert. Today, we can't be lazy anymore. Ace, Tiona, and Tioni expressed their understanding on the spot. Only Noah looked at Finn and shrugged. If that's the case, let me join in, okay? I'm not an officer of the clan, am I? Although you're not an officer of the clan, your ability is not below ours. You also have all kinds of magical means that are of extraordinary significance to our expedition this time. Riveria said so. So, we want to ask you some questions about the expedition and see how much preparation you can do. For example, don't you have some kind of space that can store items before? Gareth reminded. How big is that space? Can you help us transport supplies? For the clan who planned to go on an expedition to the unreached area of the underground city, this question was indeed of great importance. One must know that there was no convenient way to store items in this world. Basically, the transportation of supplies had to be done by hand. Otherwise, there would be no need for the existence of porters. Loki's clan had a lot of business, so it was impossible for them to not prepare enough supplies. However, the problem of transportation and carrying needed to be considered. Food, water, clothing, weapons, props, and other supplies, no matter how well prepared they were, if there was no way to transport and carry them without affecting the battle, then it would be meaningless. Not to mention, the purpose of the dungeon expedition was to explore the dungeon and obtain higher level and quality magic stones, dropped items, herbs, and minerals as spoils of war. Those were things that needed to be sold on the ground. Otherwise, as a pure exploration class spawn, if they didn't earn a lot from this aspect, all of them would have to eat dirt. Previously, we encountered a bunch of monsters that could dissolve weapons in the area below the 50th floor. In the end, because our weapons were exhausted and we couldn't explore any further, we could only return with our tails between our legs. Tiona pouted. This time, although we are preparing to go on an expedition with the blacksmiths of Hephaestus clan, the blacksmiths can only help us repair our weapons. We still need to prepare a lot of things, right? In the past, there was also a lack of food. In the end, we had no choice but to give up on exploring the deeper regions, Tioni nodded. If you can really help us transport some of the supplies, we can extend the exploration time. It's really meaningful. Apart from that, Noah also has the means to strengthen the abilities of others, right? Finn looked straight at Noah. That method will also greatly increase our combat power. It will also make our exploration more convenient and smoother. If we encounter monsters that are too powerful, we can even fight them to the end. Perhaps we can obtain a very high amount of EXP, or even an unimaginable harvest. Why was Loki so desperate to recruit Noah into his clan? Apart from admiring Noah, it was also his foresight that allowed him to see the importance of Noah's activities to his clan. With Noah's various magical means, as long as he casually brought out one or two of those mentioned above, the rewards of an expedition would be unimaginable. In this way, before the leaders decided to go on an expedition, they naturally needed to understand the real situation of Noah's means so that they could be prepared. In this regard, Noah naturally understood. In that case, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Everyone burst into laughter at once. Because this was a good opportunity to understand the mysterious Noah. Even AIC and Lephia's gazes were fixed on Noah. Their eyes were filled with anticipation and excitement. Then, the first question, Finn said. Like you said earlier, how many supplies can your storage space help us carry? It doesn't matter how much. Noah gave an answer that shocked everyone. As long as it's food, water, clothes, weapons, and tools, it can carry as much as it wants. Even the magic stones used to make magic stone products and the ores and herbs used to make weapons and tools can be stored. It can carry as much as it wants. Then. Tiona's eyes widened in shock. Doesn't that mean we don't need reinforcements? No, it's just a storage item at best. It can only be used for storage and can't be recycled. Reinforcements are still necessary, Noah refuted Tioni's statement. However, you don't have to worry about the safety of the things stored inside. For example, the shelf life of the food. This space can always maintain the freshness of the food and water. No matter how much you prepare, you won't have to worry about it going to waste. That's great news, Gareth's eyes lit up. In this case, we don't have to worry about the supplies at all. We don't even have to worry about not being able to bring too much loot on the return journey. Yes. Tioni nodded repeatedly. In the past, almost every time we explored, we stopped and embarked on the return journey. This time, we don't have to worry about transportation at all. It's great to have such a huge surprise right off the bat. This time, we have to prepare a lot of supplies, Finn said with a smirk. What about the means that can increase our abilities? What are the specific restrictions? It's very simple. Basically, as long as you can bear it, it will be able to multiply your strength infinitely. Even reaching the realm of God is not a dream, Noah once again said in a casual manner, shocking everyone. The stronger you are, the more strengthening you can get. With you, Ace, Riveria, and Gareth who are LV6, it's estimated that it won't be a problem to strengthen to LV7. Ignoring the silence of Ace and the others, Noah continued. However, that's only a temporary power after all. There's a time limit. Once the maintenance time is over, you'll all return to your original form. You'll also consume a lot of physical strength because you've used too much strength. If you don't have sufficient preparation, it's best not to use it casually. It seems that we still need to prepare more recovery elixirs to restore the physical strength consumed. Finn exhaled. What about the magic swords you used before that won't be damaged? Can you lend them to the members of the clan tribe? Are you talking about the noble phantoms? Noah sighed. Don't count on that. Now, I don't have any noble phantoms left. Ha! Ace was stunned. Why? Leafia couldn't help but interrupt. It's more or less troublesome to explain. Noah rubbed his eyebrows and said so. It's roughly because something terrible happened. In order to protect myself, all my noble phantoms became the price. Oh. Gareth was surprised. Something that even you think is terrible? That's right. Noah said helplessly. Something that even I think is terrible. That's to say, after the two good news, there's another bad news, right? Riveria nodded her chin. However, it's already very helpful to be able to solve the problem of materials and transportation, and also allow us to have the means to increase our overall strength at a critical moment. This is the advantage of our expedition this time. Finn stood up and looked around at everyone present. In that case, let's get ready. After 3 days, we'll enter the underground city. Everyone suddenly nodded their heads heavily. Even Noah began to look forward to it. The unreached area. What would it be like there? Chapter 2027. Clang. The chilling sword lights were like two lightning bolts that fiercely collided in the air, causing crisp clashing sounds and sparks. In the atrium where the sun had just risen, a man and a woman were sweating to their heart's content, letting the long swords in their hands collide with each other. Bathed in the morning sun, they continued to attack and defend. The continuous clashing sounds reverberated in the atrium. The collision of swords went on for who knows how many rounds. Noah and AIC continued to spar like they did on the first day, and the battle became more and more intense, causing several extremely thrilling situations that were enough to frighten any onlooker. This kind of practice continued until the base began to become more lively. Huff. 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 AIC finally lowered the hand that had been holding the sword and began to gasp for breath. A lot of sweat flowed down her cheeks, and even a pair of crystal-clear eyes began to show some fatigue. On the opposite side, Noah also lowered the sword in his hand. Although some sweat flowed down his body, he didn't speed up his breathing in the slightest. Obviously, he wasn't sweating because of physical exhaustion, and seemed to have more than enough to spare. In this regard, AIC began to feel a kind of pressure in her heart. 3 days had passed since the last meeting of the cadres of Loki's clan to decide on the expedition. Not long after, the expedition of Loki's clan would begin. During these 3 days, Finn, Riveria, and Gareth, who were the leaders of the clan, had been busy preparing all kinds of supplies. Tiona, and Bert were all running errands, and they were almost nowhere to be seen all day. As a cadre of Loki's clan, IC was naturally ordered to do some things. However, the blonde girl wasn't good at this kind of thing. She only knew how to fight and kill, and wasn't even very good at communicating with people. Therefore, she was even less arranged than Leafia, which made the girl very depressed. There was only one thing that made AIC happy. That was, during the time when Riveria began to be busy with the clan's affairs, the person who accompanied AIC to train became Noah. I have nothing to do anyway, so I'll accompany you for a while. This was what Noah, who had changed his appearance, told AIC. AIC had to admit that although she felt sorry for Riveria, after Noah replaced Riveria as her sparring partner, not only did her training become more efficient, but she also enjoyed it. Noah was by his side. Just this fact alone made AIC very happy. Is this the so-called like? AIC, who was not an expert in matters of the heart, could only muddle her thoughts. She felt an unprecedented sense of shame in her heart. However, it did not take long for this feeling to be extinguished. For the past 3 days, Noah and AIC had been sparring. However, AIC discovered a cruel truth later on. That was, in these 3 days, AIC had never been able to make him take a single step back. She couldn't even touch the corner of his clothes. No matter how hard AIC tried, to the extent that she did not hesitate to reveal her true abilities in the sparring session, Noah was still able to deal with her attacks with ease. From the looks of it, he simply did not bring out his full strength. No, it should be said that he did not even try to be serious. Thus, AIC understood one thing. The person in front of her, there was an unbridgeable gap between them. The gap between them was too big. To Noah, this was just a sparring session. However, to AIC, in these 3 days, other than magic, she had already used everything she had, but she still could not touch Noah. She could not even make Noah take a single step back. This made AIC's muddle-headed feelings of a young girl disappear without a trace, turning into an impulse. An impulse to chase after him. The power that she pursued was right in front of her eyes. Whether it was the muddle-headed feelings or the pursuit of power, she had to chase after it. Chase after the man in front of her. Driven by her emotions, AIC took a deep breath, calmed her breathing, and raised her sword again. Seeing the flames of struggle burning in AIC's eyes, Noah could not help but laugh. All right, let's stop here. The sky is already bright, and we have to set off soon. You should go back to your room and prepare. AIC was slightly startled, then she noticed the time and lowered the weapon in her hand in disappointment. Seeing AIC like this, Noah felt that it was really funny. Although this girl was not good at expressing her feelings, she was also not good at hiding them. Even though the changes were very subtle, but if one observed carefully, one could still see the thoughts in this blonde girl's heart from her expression and eyes. This is also the type of girl who writes everything on her face, right? Noah could not help but laugh in his heart. He stepped forward and stood in front of AIC. Don't worry, there will be plenty of time for sparring in the future. As long as I'm still in this clan tribe, I won't mind accompanying you. Noah habitually reached out his hand and patted AIC's head. Take it one step at a time. Don't rush for instant success. If that's the case, you will definitely become stronger. Noah's words made AIC's expression soften a little. She raised her head and looked at Noah's smiling face. Even though his face was different from the one in her memory, she could still see the gentleness in his dark, deep eyes. AIC's pretty face blushed a little, but she did not resist Noah's hand at all, and smiled embarrassedly. In the sunny courtyard, the scene of a man and a woman in close contact filled the surroundings with warmth. At this moment, a gaze full of resentment was cast on Noah, and Noah paused his actions. Feeling that gaze, Noah glanced over speechlessly. All he saw was that in the corner of the courtyard, a cute elf girl with sharp ears was hiding there, glaring at Noah with resentment as if she was looking at a mortal enemy. Who else could it be other than Leafia? Noah could even use his eternally strengthened hearing to catch the elf girl's mutterings. Too cunning. Too cunning. Not only does he monopolize Miss AIC all day long. He even caresses Miss AIC's head like that. He immerses himself in such a good atmosphere. He's really too cunning. Too hateful. The elf who yearned for the golden-haired, golden-eyed girl continued to release her resentment, giving Noah a headache. In these 3 days, the same thing happened many times. Whenever Noah was alone with AIC, Leafia would always appear in all sorts of corners and stare at Noah as if she was looking at her father's murderer. It was as if she was his spirit, making Noah feel that he might be cursed by this girl. In this regard, Noah really wanted to say something. Everyone knows that the werewolf likes AIC. Why don't I see you being his spirit? In the end, of course, Noah didn't say that out loud. At this moment, the elf girl's resentful voice carried a hint of anger. She couldn't help but jump out and yell. "You've been touching her for too long." As she shouted, Leafia rushed forward with an astonishing momentum and dragged AIC away. Leafia. AIC was startled. Miss AIC. Leafia faced AIC and revealed a smile as if she was deliberately ignoring Noah. "Let's go prepare for the expedition." Leafia's smile was indeed very cute, proving that there was no such thing as an ugly elf. But for some reason, AIC felt that Leafia's smile was a little scary. In an instant, she was overwhelmed by Leafia's inexplicable aura and nodded weakly. "Humph." Leafia snorted coldly at Noah and turned her head away, leaving the back of her head to Noah. She then held AIC's hand and walked towards the mansion. AIC seemed to want to say something to Noah, but she was forcefully dragged away by Leafia. She could only look at Noah like an abandoned animal. In the end, she was still brought into the mansion and disappeared from Noah's sight. Noah was really amused. This clan tribe is indeed far more interesting than I imagined. As Noah sighed, the bell for dinner rang. In an instant, the lively atmosphere in the mansion changed completely. Because everyone knew. After dinner, it was time to start the expedition. Let's hope something interesting will happen. With this thought in mind, Noah also walked into the mansion. Chapter 2028. On the day when Loki's clan decided to go on an expedition to the underground city, the weather was very good. Warm sunlight poured down from the sky, illuminating the white-walled tower standing in the center of the city, the Tower of Babel. And in front of the Tower of Babel, a group of heavily armed people was gathered here. This group of people seemed to have occupied this territory, and a large area around it was empty. The adventurers who planned to go to the underground city were like a crowd of onlookers, surrounding the group and pointing at them. If you looked carefully, you would be able to see it. In front of the group, a flag with a clown pattern was fluttering in the wind. Only under a flag could people form a group. This sentence was heard countless times in the box, and now it was displayed in the most realistic way in another world, in the most realistic way in front of Noah. Noah gathered here with the rest of the members of Loki's clan. He blended in with the crowd, making full use of the advantage of his common face. In terms of appearance alone, he did not attract anyone's attention at all. Next to Noah, Leafia, who was carrying a huge cylindrical backpack, also stood there as a supporter. Woo! Leafia seemed to be still angry with Noah, and she looked dissatisfied. Why do I have to act with Mr. Noah? Because we are all basic members? Noah said teasingly. The expedition must be dominated by the first-level adventurers. LV4S and LV3S like us can only be the support, and when the conditions allow, we can only act as the rear guard. As Noah said, the first-level adventurers, such as Ace, Tiona, Finn, Riveria, Gareth, and Bert, stood at the forefront of the team, majestically receiving the worship of the adventurers around them. In the eyes of others, these first-level adventurers were undoubtedly the protagonists of the expedition of Loki's clan. As for LV4 players like Noah and LV3 players like Leafia, in the eyes of others, they were really just insignificant members of the team. At this time, they could not steal the limelight at all. After all, the deeper areas from the 37th floor onwards were not an area that LV3 and LV4 adventurers could enter. Therefore, during the expedition, the first-level adventurers were the real protagonists, and the support was the LV3 and LV4 members of the clan tribe. In other words, among the Loki clansmen who planned to go on an expedition to the dungeon, other than the first-level adventurers, the rest were all LV3 and LV4 supporters. Since that was the case, Noah and Leafia, who were also LV3 and LV4 respectively, naturally had nothing special about them and could only blend in with the crowd. In fact, even Noah had a huge backpack on his back. Therefore, Noah emphasized that he was only a supporting character. He was only here to gain experience, to be a bystander, and to pick up dropped items. Leafia was speechless all of a sudden. Undoubtedly, this big shot in front of her was the real trump card of the entire clan tribe. He actually carried a backpack like her and acted as a support. How could she endure it? When she thought that she could only be reduced to a support after reaching the deeper area, and this companion beside her could be used as a hidden trump card in the dungeon, Leafia's mood became extremely complicated. Rifia was looking forward to Ace's future. Of course, even if it was only a little, Leafia also hoped to catch up with Ace. However, the man beside her was the person whom she longed for, After reaching the extremely dangerous deeper area, if Miss Ace encountered danger, this man in front of her would be able to save the person she looked forward to, right? What about her? Not only would she not be able to help at that time, but she might also drag the team down, right? In fact, the same thing had happened many times before, and AIC had saved Rifia countless times. It was because of this that Leafia looked forward to Ace, hoping to stand beside this swordsman and fight side by side with her. However, at the moment, it was impossible to do that at all, right? Leafia's mood was really complicated at this thought. Under such circumstances, a voice suddenly sounded in her ears. Don't worry, as long as you have the heart to move forward bravely and never give up, you will definitely not be a burden. Leafia was slightly taken aback. She lifted her head and looked at Noah instinctively. Looking at Leafia, who was staring at him in a daze, Noah suddenly smiled. He extended his hand and rubbed Leafia's head. You are the successor of Riveria. Have some confidence in yourself. Upon hearing that, Leafia opened her mouth slightly and blushed. She jumped away and dodged Noah's hand that seemed to have magical powers. She stuttered, My name is Noah's name. You use this method to deceive Miss Ace, right? I won't fall for it. Ha! Noah stared blankly on the spot. It was not just Noah. Even his companions turned their gazes and looked at Noah and Leafia. Their expressions were strange, and they even began to whisper to each other. Is Drake really having designs on Miss Ace? After all, he's been Miss Ace's sparring partner for the past few days. How enviable. No, infuriating. That's right, in an instant, Noah went from being an unremarkable spectator to being the center of attention. Regardless of whether it was the male or female members, they all looked at Noah with hatred for a common enemy, making Noah's stomach hurt. At this moment, a loud and clear voice sounded. Everyone, pay attention. The noise in the team suddenly stopped. Everyone shut their mouths and looked forward. Under the banner of Loki's clan, the three leaders, Finn, Riveria, and Gareth, were lined up in a row, facing everyone. That serious expression made everyone feel like soldiers, and they could not help but straighten their bodies. From now on, we, Loki's clan, will embark on an expedition. Finn stood between Riveria and Gareth, and began to speak as the leader of the clan. This is not our first expedition, and I believe it won't be the last. So, like before, due to the problem of numbers, the team will first be divided into two groups. The first group will be led by Riveria, and will set off immediately. The second group will be led by Gareth and me. We'll set off in about 3 hours and head to the 18th floor of the safety floor to rendezvous. The area of the dungeon grew larger the lower one went, and the upper floors were rather crowded. In order to be able to pass smoothly, it was necessary to go in groups when carrying out a large-scale expedition. Considering that there is a floor master before the 18th floor, all the first-level adventurers will join the first group and be responsible for defeating the floor master first. After the rendezvous, we'll head to the 50th floor in one go. Finn's gaze swept across everyone present, and his voice became louder. We only have one goal, and that is the unreached floor, the 59th floor. The bold words from the leader of the clan ignited everyone's hearts slightly. The surrounding adventurers were also shocked, and their hearts were filled with longing. After all, that was a floor that no clan had reached yet. If Loki's clan could really complete the crusade on the 59th floor, the significance would definitely not be ordinary. That's right. This expedition is of great significance. Finn's tone became heavy. However, only by coming back alive can you enjoy that glory. If you die, then there's nothing. That one sentence made everyone fall into silence. Yes. Only by being alive can you enjoy glory. If you died, even if you became a hero in others' words, you would only be praised by others, and you would not be able to hear it yourself. Live on. My compatriots. Riveria's voice began to ring. Only by living on, you are the best. Garrett's heavy voice rang out as well. Our goal, in addition to reaching the unreached floor, is to have everyone survive. Finn's voice once again pierced everyone's heart. Can you do it? Everyone's heart began to surge with an impulse. Could they do it? Was there a need to ask? At this time, wasn't there only one answer? Seeing that everyone's eyes were burning with fighting spirit, Finn smiled with satisfaction. Good. Let's go. Under Finn's call, in the next second, a roar full of fighting spirit resounded through the sky. The expedition had begun. Chapter 2029. On the top floor of the towering Tower of Babel, Freya looked down at the Loki's clansmen who swarmed into the bottom of the tower and entered the underground city. Her beautiful eyes narrowed, and a charming smile appeared on her breathtaking beauty. So, that child is hiding among Loki's clansmen. With her eyes that could look directly into the souls of those in the lower realm, Freya could clearly see her beloved among Loki's clansmen, who shone with a dazzling light. Noah's transformation could fool everyone, but he could not fool this beautiful goddess who had special eyes that could look directly into the souls of others. In front of this beautiful goddess, Noah's whereabouts were completely exposed. Loki really knows how to make use of every opportunity, Freya murmured, but the smile on her beautiful face became a little cold. It's really unpleasant. This was Freya's current mood. This feeling was not caused by the fact that her previous game had been seen through by her sweetheart, nor was it caused by the merciless warning she received. It was just pure jealousy. Freya could ignore the fact that Noah had joined Hestia's clan. Because, in Freya's eyes, Hestia was not a difficult goddess at all. As the virgin goddess who symbolized purity, Hestia had almost no tricks up her sleeves. Even though she had the vision and experience of a god, she was not a worthy opponent for Freya, who was in charge of beauty and love and knew the love and hatred of people. So, when Noah joined Hestia's clan, Freya just smiled and let it go. However, it was different when it came to Loki's clansmen. Freya and Loki were already old acquaintances when they were in the heavens. With the status of an evil god, Loki was almost on par with Freya in terms of scheming. It was because of this that Loki and Freya's clansmen could become the kings of Uriley together. If asked which god Freya was most afraid of among all the clansmen, it was undoubtedly Loki. Moreover, Loki knew almost everything about Freya. He knew about Freya's unflattering obsession with collecting souls, and also knew about the special ability of Freya's eyes. Even if he did not know all of Freya's secrets, he had at least spied on more than half of them. If Noah joined Loki's clan, it would undoubtedly be very difficult to get Noah. Freya was very unhappy with the fact that her old enemy had gotten what she wanted the most. In the room, the rock-hard orc spoke in a deep voice. The expedition of Loki's clan has just begun. What Otto meant was that if Freya wanted to do something to Loki's clan, this was undoubtedly a good opportunity. In this regard, Freya did not hesitate to reject. Loki knows that I want that child, so he must have guessed my feelings. In other words, it was very likely that Loki was already on guard and had even made sufficient preparations. If Freya were to find trouble with Loki's clan now, she would definitely be schemed against by the evil god who once caused the gods to kill each other in the heavens. Besides, with your abilities, can you stop the child's attack while dealing with Loki's clan? Freya said in an extremely pessimistic tone. Otto, although you are brave and stand at the peak of all the adventurers in Uriley, but against all the level 1 adventurers in Loki's clan, there is absolutely no chance of winning, right? Not to mention there is still that child who is still unfathomable, isn't there? Otto was silent. Silence was equivalent to consent. Obviously, although Otto was the only LV7 in Uriley, there was no way he could face so many level 1 adventurers in Loki's clan alone. Ace, Finn, Riveria, and Gareth were all LV6. Tiona, Tioni, and Bert were all LV5. In the face of 7 level 1 adventurers, more than half of which were LV6. Even Otto had no chance of winning. Unless Freya's entire clan attacked. After all, in Freya's clan, in addition to Otto who was LV7, there were 3 LV6. And 4 LV5. That was enough to fight against Loki's clan. Unfortunately, there was also the unfathomable Noah in Loki's clan. That child is enough to break all the balance and redeem all the disadvantages. Freya swayed the red wine in the glass in her hand, her seductive lips slightly parted as she said so. Otto, you have to understand that after that child joined Loki's clan, we no longer have an advantage, even if we have you. Otto was silent once more. In this regard, Freya's mood naturally became even more displeased. After a while, she smiled sweetly. Forget it, even Loki can't really hold that child. When they come back from the underground city, we will pay them a visit. Yes. Otto replied. Woo 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 woo. In the 17th floor of the underground city, in the huge cavern leading to the 18th floor, an earth-shaking roar suddenly resounded. Boom! Accompanied by a heavy tremor, a tower-like foot fiercely stomped on the ground, causing the ground to shake and the entire cavern to tremble, scattering dust everywhere. A huge humanoid monster nearly 10 meters tall, the floor master named Goliath stomped on the ground, raised his fist, and punched at the troops in front of him, causing a gust of wind to blow. It was a terrifying blow that was enough to seriously injure a LV5 level 1 adventurer. Although classified as LV4, in terms of pure arm strength, Goliath was undoubtedly stronger than a LV5 level 1 adventurer who was good at developing strength. Therefore, even LV5 adventurers, or even LV6 adventurers, generally would not foolishly resist Goliath's direct attack. The adventurers of Loki's clan were naturally the same. Dodge! Following Riveria's order, the adventurers of Loki's clan all retreated in front of Goliath. Boom! The earth-shattering roar turned into a sound wave, violently blowing in all directions. Goliath's direct attack shattered the ground, and rocks and debris were like huge bullets from the sky, violently flying in all directions, disrupting the formation of the retreating members of Loki's clan. In this regard, Riveria calmly ordered, "Attack!" With Riveria's order, the dwarves raised their battle axes, the Amazons raised their long swords, the orcs raised their bows, and the elves raised their magic wands, launching a fierce attack on the huge floor master. For a moment, the light of swords, the shadow of swords, the rain of arrows, and even the thunder began to appear, shrouding the huge humanoid monster, cutting its muscles and bones, piercing its skin, and even burning its dark body. The scene could be described as earth-shattering. Goliath let out a roar of pain. Seeing the basic members of Loki's clan surrounding the huge humanoid monster, carrying out an extremely effective fierce attack, the level 1 adventurers who were on standby at the rear began to chat with a relaxed expression. "It's going very well," Tiona said with some boredom. "In this way, we can't make a move. Goliath is not an opponent we need to face in the first place," Tiona reminded. "In the past, when we were on expeditions, Goliath was also dealt with by those low-level members of the clan. Don't complain." For level 1 adventurers, Goliath was not a difficult opponent, and even if they defeated it, it would not give any experience points worth mentioning. Therefore, generally, during expeditions, monsters like Goliath's level were dealt with by those LV3 and LV4 members to accumulate experience points and improve their strength. For level 1 adventurers, the experience points were not a big deal, but for LV3 and LV4 adventurers, it was much more valuable. At this time, kill-stealing was absolutely immoral. Finn arranged for the level 1 adventurers to be in the vanguard, mainly to deal with unexpected situations. Once there was danger, they could not care so much, and the level 1 adventurers on standby would all rush over. Because of this, while Tiona and Tiona were chatting, Riveria had been giving orders, and Ace was also paying attention to the situation in front of them, ready to rescue at any time. Only Bert, with a look of displeasure, shouted at the person next to him. "What are you standing there for? You go too." The person who was shouted at by Bert was Noah. Chapter 20:30. In fact, Bert had been unhappy with Noah for a long time. The reason was simple. At the beginning of the expedition, the areas before the deeper layers were for LV3 and LV4 adventurers to accumulate experience points. When exploring the unreached areas, only level 1 adventurers above LV5 could be of use. The rest of the adventurers joined as rearguards and support. In other words, by the time they reached the deeper area, the level 2 adventurers who were only level 3 and level 4 were almost useless. They could only stay in the garrison, take care of the supplies and spoils, and serve the level 1 adventurers who were fighting at the front line. If they didn't accumulate experience points while they could still be of use, then the expedition would really be just a porter and a waiter. Other than broadening their horizons, they wouldn't gain anything. It was precisely because of this that in the first half of the journey, the LV5 and LV6 first-level adventurers were only holding the line, while the LV3 and LV4 second-level adventurers were required to fight on the battlefield, accumulate experience points, and gain growth. However, what was this guy who was also LV4 doing? Ignoring the floor master, who was a highly sought-after prey, this guy actually stayed in the same spot and watched with relish. How could Bert be happy like this? Even that stupid elf who had been following behind Ace grabbed his wand and rushed forward. "Do you think that the EXP gain method is fair game?" Bert glared at Noah with a ferocious glare. "Hurry up and fight for me." After saying that, Bert lifted his foot and kicked Noah's back unceremoniously. It seemed that he intended to kick Noah to the front line. However, Noah, who was carrying a huge backpack, suddenly turned around and lightly dodged the kick. After shrugging his shoulders, he didn't even take off the huge backpack on his back. Instead, he rushed forward like a sharp arrow. Wait! Tiona and Tyogni almost cried out in surprise at the same time. AIC was even more surprised. She instinctively raised her feet, intending to charge forward. However, before that, Riveria stopped them. Don't worry, Riveria said in a voice that Bert couldn't hear. He knows what he's doing. As if to prove Riveria's words, Noah, who had transformed into a gale, rushed forward and immediately blended into the crowd, starting to fish in troubled waters. At the very least, to A's, Riveria, Tiona, and Tiny, who knew Noah's true strength, Noah's performance could only be described as fishing in troubled waters. They saw that Noah, who was mixed in the crowd, had not taken off the huge backpack on his back. His hands tightly grasped the shoulder straps of the backpack on his back, but his feet moved like shadows, shuttling quickly through the battlefield. Sometimes, he was like a breeze that came and went as he pleased. His figure suddenly flickered as he dodged Goliath's fist that was as heavy as a meteor. Sometimes, he was like a whirlwind that swept away thousands of troops, flashing back and forth around Goliath with extreme agility. Goliath was dizzy from the spinning and could not catch up with the lightning-fast little rascal at all. Sometimes, he was like a thunderstorm, rushing forward like a chariot, kicking out strong and powerful kicks that landed heavily on Goliath's toes. Goliath could not help but kneel on one knee as he was attacked head-on by the surrounding members of the Loki clan. Sometimes, he was like a reckless and willful typhoon, flying up recklessly. In the midst of Goliath's roar, he threw out a series of kicks like a storm. Amidst the thud 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 sounds of heavy blows, Goliath howled in pain again and again as he retreated violently. If Noah wanted to, he could definitely finish off a floor master of Goliath's level in an instant. However, Noah did not do so. Instead, like a LV, for adventure with some strength, he was active at the forefront and launched a fierce attack on Goliath with his surrounding clan members. Riveria was right. Noah did have a sense of propriety. His performance was not too shocking, but he was unusually active, which made his companions in the clan feel refreshed and began to attack heavily. The following battle situation was completely one-sided. Although Noah's addition did not show any abnormalities beyond his level, he had fully displayed the strength of a LV4 level. Looking at Noah's dazzling kicks, Bert raised his eyebrows and was speechless. That kid, recently, the news that Noah had become AIC's sparring partner had spread throughout the entire Loki clan. So, Bert had always thought that Noah should have decent sword skills. Who would have thought that this guy would actually use kicking skills? That was the werewolf Bert's proud skill. How is it, Bert? Tiona deliberately asked as if she was looking for trouble. How's little Drake's kicking skills compared to yours? What do you mean? Bert said in disdain. You're not going to say that the little guy's kicking skills are better than mine, are you? As an adventurer who relied on his feet to make a living, Bert's fighting style was relatively rare in the entire Eulalia. Although Bert was only LV5, in terms of kicking skills, no one in the entire Eulalia could beat him. The kicking skills that Noah was using now seemed very dazzling, but in Bert's eyes, it was just an amateur. You don't use a good sword, but you use a kicking skill that you're not good at. You're really a little guy who likes to play to the gallery. Bert's words were still rude and merciless. That kind of guy, I really don't understand the point of you guys hanging around to have fun. You really don't have anything nice to say about a werewolf who likes to offend people. Tiona stuck her tongue out at Bert. I think you're just jealous that he can have fun with AIC every morning, right? Who's jealous of that little guy? Bert's voice became louder. Stop spreading rumors, you bastard Amazon. You're scolding me too. Tiona raised her eyebrows and began to expose. Don't think that I don't know, Bert. When Drake and AIC are doing morning exercises, don't you secretly hide in the sky corridor to watch? And you're still saying that you're not jealous? Bert's face twisted. It was an expression that would only appear when someone was poked at a sore spot. In response, Tiona giggled and delivered the final blow. Besides, AIC likes little brother Noah, not you annoying werewolf. Ooh, 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 ooh. Bert let out a painful howl as if he had suffered a heavy blow. He clutched his chest and almost fell down. That painful howl almost overlapped with Goliath's mournful cry before his death. Kaboom! In the deafening sound of falling to the ground, Goliath, the floor master, slammed heavily on the ground and finally lost his life. The adventurers of Loki's clan cheered and jumped for joy. They were happy to have defeated the floor master. Noah, who was mixed in the crowd, looked at Leafia, whose breathing had quickened. He met Leafia's gaze and smiled mockingly at the elven girl. Leafia's pretty face instantly turned red and she quickly averted her gaze. Then, as if she felt that she couldn't take it anymore, she glared back at him with hatred. This cute reaction made Noah burst into laughter. He carried his backpack and quickly dodged to the side. Tiona moved closer to AIC and snickered when they saw this scene. AIC, don't you feel that little brother's relationship with Leafia seems to have improved? If you don't work harder, your sweetheart will be snatched away by Leafia. AIC's pretty face blushed fiercely. It was rare for her to glare at her two friends of the same sex, causing them to scream and laugh as they ran away. As for Bert, he was still immersed in his injuries and couldn't extricate himself. Looking at the rather joyous scene, Riveria shook her head helplessly and raised her voice to give out orders again. Okay, hurry up and collect the magic stones of the floor master. If there are any dropped items, collect them too. The magic stones and dropped items from the floor master can be sold for a considerable price. Everyone responded and began to pack up. Noah once again mixed in with the crowd. While fooling around with Leafia, he acted like an ordinary member of the clan and acted as a supporter. Looking at Noah, who blended into the crowd and mingled with everyone, in the distance, AIC couldn't help but feel envious. In fact, AIC also wanted to get along happily with Noah. Chapter 2031. The 50th floor of the dungeon. Like the 18th floor, it was one of the few safe floors in the dungeon that did not produce monsters. It was also the last safe floor before reaching the domain. Unfortunately, although they were both safe floors, there was a decisive difference between the 18th floor and the 50th floor. There were two differences. One was the environment. If the 18th floor was like a beautiful paradise, then the 50th floor was a lifeless land of death. The ground here was gray. The trees here were gray. The rock walls here were gray. Even the river here had an unflattering green color. Even if the water here was poisonous, no one would doubt it. On the high ceiling, huge stalactites flickered with a faint phosphorescent light, providing the only light source on this floor. Compared to the 18th floor, which was like a paradise on Earth, there was no doubt that the 50th floor's environment could be described as harsh. It gave people a feeling that this was the environment that the dungeon should have. Another difference was the atmosphere. As the first safe floor of the dungeon, the 18th floor belonged to the middle area. Usually, there would be many adventurers who would use it as a temporary base. There was a lively atmosphere. But the 50th floor was different. As the front line of the dungeon, there were only a few adventurers who could come here. Generally speaking, if it wasn't a large group of famous clan members in Orly, they wouldn't be able to come to this floor. Therefore, although the 50th floor didn't have a town like the 18th floor, which planned to extort adventurers all day long, it could almost be said that no one would enter this place often. With these two decisive factors, the 50th floor was almost dead silent. There was no sign of life. And under such circumstances, at this moment, the Rosai clan members were camping in a corner. It was a huge rock that extended from the rock wall. It was easy to defend and difficult to attack. It could see the strange gray forest in the 50th floor at a glance. The Loki clan members who had just arrived on this floor were in a lively atmosphere that did not fit in with the surroundings. They set up tents, lit bonfires, and even hung magic stone lamps in front of the tents to illuminate the space that lacked light. The noise was constantly ringing. The clamor continued to reverberate. The members of Loki's clan walked back and forth, bustling in and out, and even shouting loudly. It could be said to be lively. Amidst the ruckus, a group of guild members continued to move in and out of a tent that was set up right in the middle of the campsite. It was clearly much bigger than the other tents. Seeing the members coming in and out, many of the members who were setting up camp had strange and bewildered expressions on their faces. This was because every time the members who entered and left the tent, they would enter empty-handed. When they came out, they would push large metal chests and take out various kinds of supplies and distribute them to everyone present. Among those resources, there was food, water, clothing, weapons, as well as various items. If all these materials were added together, even if they were stored in metal boxes, it would be enough to burst the tent. However, in the tent, the members were still busy going in and out. Every time, they would go in empty-handed, but when they came out, they would have a batch of supplies in their hands. It was as if they had walked into another world, making them feel very strange. What kind of trick is Captain and the others playing? They can actually make so many supplies come out of that tent. No wonder no one brought any supplies when they set off. Their backpacks were either filled with camping equipment or empty. If this continues, then we don't have to worry about running out of food like before, and have to kneel on the way back. How did Captain and the others do it? The members of the entire campsite began to discuss. It seemed to be much livelier than during the previous expedition. Among them, a young cat girl curiously asked Leafia, who was also busy next to her. "Hey, Leafia, you seem to have a good relationship with the officers. Do you know how Captain and the others did it?" "No. I don't know." Leafia laughed dryly. Maybe there's a powerful figure who's helping them behind the scenes." "Is that so?" The young cat girl pursed her lips. Clearly, she didn't choose to believe it. Leafia couldn't help but mutter to herself as she looked at the cat-human girl. "I'm telling the truth. You're the one who doesn't believe me." While the members outside were amazed, Noah raised the dark golden card in the tent and aimed it at the ground in front of him. Clank! In a dazzling flash, metal boxes filled with all kinds of supplies were taken out of the gift card and arranged neatly in front of everyone. "Okay," Finn ordered skillfully. "Another batch of people come in." Under Finn's command, a few members of the grassroots level entered the tent and looked at the neatly arranged boxes with indescribable expressions. After all, this was the fourth time they had come in. Undoubtedly, they had just moved the supplies out of the tent, but every time they came in, a new batch of supplies would appear out of thin air and be placed in their original positions. This magical scene filled everyone's heart with bewilderment and curiosity. As for Bert, who had watched from the beginning to the end, he couldn't help but be speechless. "What's with that card? How is it? It's amazing, isn't it?" Tiona puffed out her chest with a smug look on her face as if she was showing off. "Now you know why we value little brother Drake so much, right? He has such a miraculous method, you know. In other words, he's just a porter." Bert pursed his lips. "Lame." Bert's words angered Tiona, and she started quarreling with Bert. While Tiona and Bert were quarreling, Noah took out another batch of supplies and asked Finn to order people to move them out. "How is it? Do you still want to continue?" Noah asked in a bored manner. "There's still more than half of the supplies that haven't been taken out." "Half?" Finn licked his thumb. It was his habitual action when he was hot-blooded or deep in thought. That was what Finn said. "Although there's still more than half, the supplies that have been taken out are enough to last for half a month. So, let's leave it at that for the time being." Noah nodded nonchalantly and the gift card in his hand dissipated like a phantom. Everyone was intrigued by this magical means. However, before they could ask any questions, Finn began to give out orders. Alright, the camp should be more or less set up. Let's gather outside and prepare for the pre-strategy meeting. Everyone's attention was instantly diverted as they nodded one after another. Since the 50th floor didn't have the same crystal light source as the 18th floor, there was no distinction between day and night. The people of Loki's clan could only rely on a pocket watch to check the time. After dinner, they gathered in front of the campfire and began the pre-strategy meeting. So, around the campfire, the first-level adventurers sat down around the fire, and the rest of the people gathered around the cadre sitting in front of the campfire and listened carefully. Immediately, Finn began to speak. As before, starting from the 51st floor, the first-level adventurers will form an elite team with several supporters to explore, and the rest will stay in the camp. There was no surprise in everyone's expression. Starting from the 51st floor, even the supporters must have a certain ability, otherwise, it would be suicide. This was originally the exploration area of the first-level adventurers. If a large number of LV-3 and LV-4 second-level adventurers flooded into the lower floors, it would not only affect the speed of the march, but it would even increase the probability of accidents. At that time, they would have to trouble the first-level adventurers to protect them. The loss outweighed the gain. Therefore, in every expedition, the majority of Loki's clan would stay in the camp on the 50th floor, and the rest of the elite would form a team to go to the unreached area. This time, we have fewer scruples than before. We don't have to worry about materials and supplies, so we will use the most elite team to attack, Finn said. Those who are named by me, all sit in front of me. Chapter 2032. Finn's words caused the expressions of all the members to tighten slightly. This time, the announcement was not a joke. Not to mention the clearers, even the clearers who stayed behind could be in danger. In the last expedition, the monsters on the 51st floor attacked the 50th floor, and the camp was almost destroyed. If it wasn't for the fact that Riveria, LV-6 who was left in the camp to command, and AIC's group had returned in time to repel the monsters, the destruction of supplies was a small matter, but a large number of sacrifices would be a big deal. This time, Finn was going to send out all the elites, which meant that there would be no level 1 adventurers left in the camp. Once a large number of monsters rushed to the safety floor and attacked the camp, the probability of total annihilation was almost half. Therefore, no one would underestimate this deployment. If even the clearers who stayed behind were in danger, then the troops who went to the unreached area would be in even more danger. In the face of this deployment that was directly related to life and death, everyone could not help but be on tenterhooks. Even the level 1 adventurers were afraid. Even so, Finn still started to mix the ingredients with a calm expression. The members who will join the clearers are me, Riveria, Gareth, AIC, Tiona, Tioni, and Bert. All the level 1 adventurers will join the team. This arrangement was not unexpected. Therefore, in front of the campfire, the level 1 adventurers were all sitting, and they were not moved. Then, Finn spoke like this. As for the support, I thought about it, and finally decided to only let 2 people join the team. 2 people. Everyone was stunned. 2 people. Bert frowned and said so. I don't have any opinion, anyway, the fewer people the better. That way, they won't drag me down. But considering the weapons and items we need to carry, as well as the magic stones and spoils of war, 2 people is not enough, right? Don't worry, I have also thought about this. Finn made a calm gesture and said so. As for the issue of carrying items, as long as Drake is here, no matter how many people we lack, we can make up for it. Hearing this, everyone's eyes were focused on Noah, who was mixed in the crowd. Noah raised his eyebrows and smiled. In other words, one of the 2 supporters is me. Of course, Finn replied with a smile. Or rather, with your support, we have a better chance of survival. Finn's overly high evaluation surprised everyone, including Bert. Only Ace, Tiona, Tyogny, Riveria, and Gareth nodded in agreement, causing the members of Loki's clan to look at each other. Sure enough, there was something special about this new LV4. Otherwise, the cadres wouldn't have paid so much attention to her. Finn added when everyone was thinking about it. Of course, considering that the reinforcements will also have to act as the rear guard and provide fire support, the other reinforcements will be Leafia. Ha! Leafia was shocked. Me. No need to doubt it. Gareth laughed. You are the successor of Riveria and the deputy leader of the clan in the future. Who else can it be if not you? But, I'm only LV3. Leafia was nervous. Compared to me, there are so many LV4 companions here. You should choose them, right? Is there a difference? Tiona directly threw out such a sentence. On the floors below the 51st floor, as long as it's not a LV5 first-level adventurer, whether it's LV3 or LV4, there's no difference, right? Leafia was suddenly speechless. Yes. For the areas below the 51st floor, whether it's LV3 or LV4, there's no difference. Because it's not a place where second-level adventurers should go. So, we only consider firepower, not level. Riveria looked at Leafia. And just in terms of firepower, you, who has mastered more magic and is a magic-specialized type, are undoubtedly the best candidate. 1,000 elves. That was the title Leafia got. As the name implied, it meant that Leafia could use more than 1,000 kinds of magic. However, to be more precise, it should be said that one of Leafia's magic gave her this possibility. The name of the magic was the Circle of Elves. It was a summoning magic. It didn't summon monsters, but magic itself. As long as it was a magic belonging to the elves, Leafia could use it at the cost of consuming the corresponding spiritual power of the magic. In other words, as long as Leafia paid the spiritual power needed to use the Circle of Elves, plus the spiritual power needed to be consumed to summon the magic, she could use any magic used by the elves. Of course, the condition was that she must completely master the magic effect needed to summon and the incantation needed to be chanted. Otherwise, she would not be able to succeed. In view of this, in theory, as long as she mastered enough magic effects and incantations, then Leafia could use all the magic used by the elves. In view of this possibility, the gods gave her the title of 1,000 Elves. It was because Leafia had such a possibility that this elven girl could become the successor of Eulalia's most powerful sorcerer, Riveria. As for the so-called magic specialization, it referred to the magic item in Leafia's ability value. Your magic was trained to the max level, which is to say, reached the S stage before it was upgraded, right? Finn said so. You have trained your magic to the max level and have skills to assist you. In terms of firepower alone, you have already completely surpassed the level of LV4 and reached the level of LV5. Once you successfully use magic, we have to retreat. As a rear guard, we have to pay attention to your firepower. In addition, you can use more types of magic to deal with various situations. I think that you can play a role beyond LV4. So, Leafia, you will join our team as the second support. Riveria said with one eye closed. If you don't want to come, then we won't force you. Hearing this sentence, Leafia couldn't help but look at AIC's direction. AIC met Leafia's gaze, her crystal-clear eyes sparkling like the stars in the night sky. Looking at the person she looked forward to, Leafia's heart gradually became firm. I understand. Leafia nodded stiffly. Let me. No, please let me go with you. Riveria, Gareth, Tiona, and Tyogny all smiled. Very good. Finn nodded. Then the clearers have decided, the 9 of us will form the clearers together. Humph, Bert glanced at Noah and Leafia. Don't drag me down, little guys. Noah curled his lips and smiled, while Leafia's pretty face sank. She seemed to be really nervous. However, under AIC's gaze, Noah and Leafia both sat down on AIC's left and right sides. As for the rest of you, stay in the camp and help us prepare supplies. Finn looked at the members who were standing. You must be careful, just like the previous time, when a large number of monsters appear. Your mission is to defend, and the key is to make use of this terrain that is easy to defend and difficult to attack. There is a batch of magic swords among the distributed supplies. If there is no other choice, use the magic swords to repel the monsters. Understood? Yes. All the members of the group answered. That's the basic allocation. As for the specific allocation of posts, it's up to you to decide. Finn said and stood up. The meeting ends here. Tonight, except for the night watch, the rest of you are to have a good rest, especially the clearers. If you are listless tomorrow and accidentally lose your life in the dungeon, then don't expect me to offer flowers at your graves. After that, Finn signaled Riveria and Gareth with his eyes, and they walked to the big tent in the middle of the room. The members looked at each other, not knowing what to say, and fell into an indescribable silence. Only the clearers who were sitting in front of the campfire were calm. No, there was an exception. Leafia gritted her teeth tightly, and her small hands were trembling slightly, which made AIC a little worried. Looking at Leafia like this, Noah fell into deep thought. Chapter 2033. In the campsite on the 50th floor of the underground city, the noise gradually began to subside. The night patrol personnel were armed and stationed in every corner of the campsite. The personnel who didn't need to watch the night all laid down in their respective tents and prepared to rest. The bonfire burned slowly, bringing some warmth and illuminating the entire campsite. Under such circumstances, Noah slowly walked out of the tent and came to the edge of the huge rock where Loki's family camped. He stood on the steep cliff and looked into the distance. What entered Noah's eyes was a gray land and forest. However, Noah directly jumped over the monotonous land and forest and looked at the end of the 50th floor. There, on the thick rock wall, a seemingly bottomless hole appeared in the air, as if it led to hell. It was so dark that it seemed to be able to suck people in, causing fear in people. However, the place that looked like the entrance to hell was the destination of Noah's group tomorrow. The entrance to the 51st floor. It wasn't that Noah hadn't been to the 51st floor before. In the beginning, in order to train his newly acquired ability, Noah went deep into the deeper area more than once and went on a solo expedition to the 51st floor. Noah didn't have a deep impression of that place. He had never seen a new type of monster that could dissolve weapons as mentioned by AIC and the others, nor had he encountered any special danger. Therefore, the 51st floor only gave Noah the impression that it was too big and messy. Because, starting from the 51st floor to the 57th floor, the terrain began to become more complicated. It was a real labyrinth. Even with a map, if one wasn't careful, it was still possible to get lost and not find the way back up. For this kind of real labyrinth terrain, Noah had suffered before. In the end, he relied on the many magical items in the treasury to return to the 50th floor and return to the surface. In other words, the deepest area Noah had been to was the 51st floor. And the unreached area is the 59th floor, Noah muttered to himself. It seems that we can go deeper this time. The reason why Noah returned to this world and all the worlds he had been to before was to follow Gaia and Alea's instructions and not leave behind any regrets. He wanted to return to this world and see the people who were tied to him. Now, the arrangements for Hastia's family had been completed. Even without Noah, with the help of Chun-Ji's magic and the protection of Loki's clan, Hastia's clan wouldn't have any problems. In that case, Noah thought about what he had not done in this world. The answer he got was that he was curious about the area below the dungeon. It's not a bad idea to learn a little before we leave, and we can also repay Loki's conditions. Just as Noah was thinking about this, a voice suddenly sounded in his mind. You've come to an interesting place. Hearing this voice, Noah was first stunned, then his heart moved, and he blurted out. Drager. The person who spoke was Delegu. Are you finally willing to speak? Noah said angrily. I thought you would become a taciturn gourd from now on. Since Noah left the world of Demon High School and returned to Between Worlds, Delegu was in a complete mess. Unlike Ashtar and Athena, who had peeked into Noah's memories and inner thoughts, knew all of Noah's secrets, and had a full understanding of Noah, Delegu didn't know about Noah's true identity and the real background of the various worlds. So, when Noah brought Delegu into Between Worlds, Delegu was in a complete mess. After Noah explained it, he couldn't speak anymore. Noah thought that Delegu was digesting too much information, so he didn't disturb him. Who knew that this silence made Delegu silent until now? In this regard, Delegu just bitterly smiled. I just want to observe this so-called new world through your eyes. Observe. Noah scratched his cheek. Since when did you start acting like this? You don't look like a dragon like Klon Kovacs, right? But this so-called dragon is such a simple creature. Delegu answered without hesitation. When I feel like fighting, I'll fight. When I feel like killing, I'll kill. When I feel like observing, I'll observe wholeheartedly. In the past, Orpheus had always been observing the flow of the world while Klon Kovac observed the existence of dragons. Compared to them, I'm considered better, right? Is that so? Noah curled his lips. Then did you observe anything? I can only say that it's unbelievable. Delegu sighed. I've seen a lot of gods in this world in my original world, but here they have become completely different existences. It's really unbelievable. For example, in the world of Demon High, Loki was the Prince Charming. In order to stop the peace talks in Northern Europe, he even brought Fenrir out. In the end, not only did he return empty-handed, even his most capable son, Fenrir, was taken in by Wally. It was not worth the loss. But in this world, Loki was a goddess. For Delegu, who had never been to a different world, this might be a novel experience. However, after living for so many years, I thought that I had a good understanding of the world. But suddenly, such a new world appeared. In addition, there are many other worlds that I don't know about. These unknowns are stimulating my instincts. Delegu suddenly laughed. If I still had a body, I would definitely make a scene, right? The adventurers in this world are like you now. They are attracted by the unknowns of the underground city, so they constantly challenge this underground maze and even risk their lives. For example, the clan I'm in now. Noah smiled slightly and looked at the big hole in the distance again. Although I'm not that persistent, my curiosity is still slightly aroused. Then let's give it a try, Drake said. Anyway, with your ability, there's no world that you can't break through. Is that so? Noah also smiled. But I think so too. Then let me look forward to your performance, partner. Delegu laughed out loud. I also want to continue to observe this interesting world. For Delegu, who had lost his body and the meaning of existence was to provide power for the host, regaining something he wanted to do should make his mood a little excited. By the way, Orpheus and Lilith seem to have been observing this world through your eyes, Delegu said. Compared to the dragon, me, who only finds it interesting and observant, those two gods don't seem to care about anything. In fact, as long as it's something related to you, it will become a factor that will trigger their emotions. Noah nodded and gazed at the entrance to the 51st floor. His pitch-black eyes glinted slightly, then he turned around and walked towards his tent. But halfway through, Noah suddenly recalled something and stopped in his tracks. After pondering for a while, Noah sighed. Let's go take a look. After saying that, Noah turned in another direction and walked in the direction of another tent. Before long, Noah arrived at his destination. But, in front of the tent, a few young ladies had already arrived. Tiona exclaimed in surprise. Little brother. Why are you here? Tiona and Tiona appeared in front of the tent and were about to enter. Tiona didn't seem to expect Noah to come here and was a little surprised. Cast a puzzled look at Noah. Under the gazes of the three young ladies, Noah laughed. It seems that our goal is the same. Tiona and Tiona exchanged glances with each other, and then all of them burst into laughter. At this moment, a few more voices sounded. Everyone is here. Even Noah is here. It seems that everyone has the same thought. Along with these words, Finn, Riveria, and Gareth, the three leaders of the clan tribe, appeared. Perhaps because the owner of the tent heard the commotion outside, the owner of the tent came out. Leafia was a little confused. Why is everyone here? The owner of the tent was Leafia. Chapter 2034. Inside the tent, Rifia was sitting upright as if she was sitting on pins and needles. She looked at Noah and the group of Loki clan officers who were also sitting on the ground. She began to fidget in fear and trepidation. Among the Loki clan members, the one who was closest to the officers was undoubtedly Rifia. As Revelia's successor, this young girl had been learning from Revelia. Because of her longing for AIC, she was led by the nose by Tiona and Tiorn all day long, running all over the place. Over time, their relationship became much better. However, even so, Rifia still felt extremely nervous. Apart from Bert, the officers of the clan were all gathered in her tent. This made Rifia feel a little reserved. Under such circumstances, Noah and the rest sat on the ground without a care. Their gazes were all focused on Rifia. This made Rifia even more reserved. At that moment, Rifia could only speak weakly. Why have you all come here together? Hearing this, everyone looked at each other and smiled. I think everyone has the same goal. As the representative, Finn stated everyone's goal. Then, we want to see how you're doing. And my situation. Rifia's neck shrunk. She seemed to understand what Finn was talking about. Forgive me for not being able to beat around the bush. I'll just say it. Riveria said as she looked at Rifia, as though she had seen through Rifia's heart. Rifia, are you very uneasy? Rifia immediately shut her mouth and lowered her head. It was as if she was too ashamed to see everyone. She was very depressed. I'm sorry. I know this seems very cowardly. Rifia bit her lip. But when I think about how much danger we might encounter tomorrow, I can't sleep. As expected. Riveria sighed. Everyone else had the same expected expression. This made Rifia lower her head even more. Undoubtedly, everyone looked calm and composed. She was the only one who felt uneasy. This made Rifia realize how cowardly she was. As expected, it's impossible to catch up to such an amazing person with my ability, Rifia was forced to think this. However, at this moment, Noah suddenly spoke. Don't misunderstand, no one here thinks you're a coward. Leafia was stunned. She raised her head and looked at Noah. You're not afraid of losing your life, are you? Noah met Leafia's stunned gaze and smiled as he exposed Leafia's inner thoughts. You're just afraid of dragging everyone down, right? He hit the bullseye. Noah's words were the real reason for the excessive unease in Leafia's heart. Is that so? Tiona was a little surprised. Leafia, so that's what you've been thinking all along. Idiot, it's not like this is the first day you've met Leafia. Do you think she's so cowardly that she doesn't even dare to enter the dungeon? Tioni snapped. If you're afraid of the dungeon, why are you an adventurer? I like what you said. Gareth stroked his beard and grinned. There are no adventurers who are afraid of the dungeon. Leafia is a qualified adventurer. There's no doubt about that. Leafia is very powerful. AIC nodded as well and said softly to Leafia as though she was not good with words. We believe in Leafia. AIC's words cleared a lot of the darkness in Leafia's heart. However, Leafia still spoke softly in an extremely unconfident manner. But, we're all first-level adventurers, and I'm the only second-level adventurer. Is it really good to choose me to join the team? That's where you're wrong. Noah shrugged. I'm also a second-level adventurer. Can I be compared to Mr. Noah? Leafia glared at Noah. Although your level is only LV4, your true strength is very strong. Level doesn't mean anything at all. You're right. Level doesn't mean anything at all. Noah suddenly smiled. If that's the case, so what if you're a second-level adventurer at LV3? Just because your level is low doesn't mean that you can't help, right? Leafia was instantly speechless. Finn, on the other hand, laughed. You have nothing to say, right? Leafia. Leafia opened her mouth and wanted to refute loudly. Noah was Noah, and she was herself. However, that would not be humility, but extreme lack of confidence. After all, the best example was right in front of her. Looking at the speechless Leafia, the corners of Noah's lips curled up slightly as he gave her a seemingly kind reminder. Or are you admitting that you're not as good as me? AIC will be very disappointed, right? The uneasiness in Leafia's heart instantly turned into anger. On the contrary, AIC spoke blankly. No, I won't. Before she could finish her sentence, Leafia loudly interrupted AIC. I won't lose to Mr. Noah. There was no longer a trace of nervousness and uneasiness on Leafia's face. With an astonishing aura, she approached AIC. Miss AIC, please believe me. I won't be a burden to everyone. I'll prove that I won't lose to Mr. Noah. AIC was startled by Leafia's approach and did not know what to say for a moment. When the others saw this scene, they looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Leafia's changed so quickly. Tiona, is this the purpose of this young man? Tiona, what a good provocation. Finn. Leafia, that child really has an unusual attachment to AIC. Riveria, ha 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 ha. Isn't this great? Gareth, under the teasing of the others, Leafia seemed to have realized what she had done. Her whole face suddenly turned red as if it was on fire. She almost fainted because of the shame. Amidst the joyous atmosphere, Finn clapped his hands and attracted everyone's attention. Looks like everyone won't be able to sleep for a while. Why don't we just talk about something before we go to sleep? Okay. Tiona was the first to raise her hand in agreement. Anyway, there's still a long time before dawn. We can rest for a while and recover our energy and strength. This is also a way to improve our relationship, right? Gareth nodded. If we understand each other well enough, then we can improve our tacit understanding and cooperation during battle. Not bad, I agree too. But what should we talk about? Riveria did not seem to have any intention of objecting. She sat there with her arms crossed. We've been together for a long time. Our tacit understanding and cooperation are sufficient. Even if we have secrets in our hearts, we can't use them as material to talk about in this situation, right? So, is there anything we need to talk about that we don't know yet? Tioni murmured in a troubled manner. For example, who do we still have questions to ask? As soon as he finished speaking, the whole place suddenly fell silent. In the next second, everyone's gaze turned to one person. Noah's mouth twitched slightly. Under everyone's gazes, Noah was speechless as he spoke. What are you guys trying to do? Hearing this, everyone laughed. Don't you think we have a lot of questions that we want you to answer? Finn licked his thumb. This is a good opportunity to get to know the tyrant better. Who asked you to have so many secrets, little brother? Tiona said with a smile. I'm curious. Last time, you managed to escape on the 18th floor. A smile appeared on Tyogni's face. You can't escape this time, right? Riveria and Gareth also showed a very interested look. Leafia also forgot all her troubles and looked at Noah curiously. As for AIC, her eyes were sparkling as if she had found her life's goal. She stared at Noah closely, causing Noah to feel a chill down his spine. Did I come here looking for trouble? Noah rolled his eyes and sighed. Forget it, just ask me what you want to ask. If I can answer it, I'll answer it and satisfy your curiosity. That's fine, right? Yay! Tiona and Tiona cheered and high-fived. Hurry up and ask, Noah said in an annoyed tone. Don't ask too many questions. Then let's start with the most basic question, Finn said. Where are you from? Chapter 2035. If one wanted to know more about a person, the first thing they needed to know was where they were born. You're not a native of Eulalie, right? Finn said with certainty. If there's someone like you in Eulalie, it's impossible for you to not be famous until a few months ago. Both Riveria and Gareth nodded. Don't be fooled by the fact that Finn looked like an underage boy and Riveria looked like a young girl, thinking that the two of them were very young. In fact, Finn, Riveria, and Gareth were all over 40 years old. In today's Eulalie, these three people can be considered as the oldest generation in the family. If Noah was really born in Eulalie, his name would have spread far and wide. It would be impossible to hide it from these three elders. In this regard, Noah naturally nodded. I'm not a native of Eulalie. Then where are you from, little brother? Tiona asked curiously. Is it far from Eulalie? It should be considered far. Noah smiled. It's farther than anyone else. Farther than anyone else. Tiona was confused. What do you mean? Tiona couldn't help but ask. Under everyone's gaze, Noah crossed his arms. After pondering for a while, he sighed. If you want to know where I was born, then I can only tell you that it's a place that no one can reach. Noah's tone began to become a little indifferent. From the moment I was conscious, I left that place. After some twists and turns, I returned and gradually understood my background. Hearing this, everyone immediately shut their mouths. Obviously, Noah's background was something that they couldn't ask. And it seemed to be quite complicated. Realizing this, they naturally wouldn't be ignorant enough to think that they could ask anything in this situation. Therefore, Leafia somewhat panicked and changed the topic. Then why did Mr. Noah come to Eulalie? Actually, I didn't particularly want to come here. Noah laughed. However, because of my own purpose, I have been traveling around and saw a lot of things. Unknowingly, I came to Eulalie. Oh. Riveria, on the other hand, had a slight reaction to Noah's words and even showed an excited look. In other words, you've traveled to a lot of places. Sort of. Noah looked at Riveria's excited look and raised his eyebrows. Why? Do you like traveling? I like it. Riveria admitted frankly. Back then, I wanted to see the outside world so that I wouldn't be bound by the elven village or the identity of royalty. That's why I left my race and came to the outside world. By chance, I was pulled into this clan by Loki and became one of Eulalie's members. Don't be fooled by her appearance. In fact, she yearns for the outside world of freedom more than any other elf. Gareth couldn't help but laugh. If Loki hadn't forcibly abducted her into the tribe back then, she might still be traveling around outside. Moreover, even if she joined the tribe, Riveria didn't give up on this dream. Finn spread his hands. I once vowed that when the younger generation of the younger generation grew up, she would throw the position of deputy leader to Leafia, leave Eulalie, and continue to travel outside. Ah. Ah ha ha ha. Leafia laughed dryly. I feel so much pressure, but, according to the current situation, this dream is still quite far away. Riveria glanced at Ace, Leafia, Tiona, and the others with a hint of warmth in her eyes. Before these children can take charge of things on their own, we still have to continue working hard for a while. Finn and Gareth both nodded in agreement. I feel so shy all of a sudden. We're being treated like children, both Tiona and Tiona muttered to each other. As for Ace and Leafia, they lowered their heads in extreme embarrassment. After all, compared to the rest, these two girls were the ones who were taken care of the most by Riveria. It was as if they were Riveria's daughters. Let's not talk about this for now, Riveria said to Noah in a curious tone. I really want to know where you've been traveling. Can you tell me a little about it? It's not impossible. Noah scratched his cheek. It's just that after knowing, you may suffer a great mental shock. This statement did not cause any fear in the group at all. Rather, the more Noah said this, the more curious Ace and the others became. Under the curious gaze of everyone, Noah smiled bitterly. Then I'll tell you a little bit. While muttering to himself, Noah began to search through the memories in his mind. Without revealing anything related to Between Worlds, he began to tell his story. This night, Noah told a lot of things about the worlds he had been to. There was the world of Dark Bullet. There was the world of Absolute Dual Blade. There was the world of Shaped Moon. There was the world of Problem Children from Another World. There was the world of God Slayer. Of course, this also included the real home in Noah's memory, the world called Fairy's Tale. When talking about his experiences in these worlds, Noah only told Ace and the others that he was on a boat, drifting aimlessly on the sea. When he saw land, he would go up, and then he would be involved in all kinds of disputes. Only after the disputes were resolved did he leave on a boat again, drifting aimlessly. The stories of the different worlds that no one could go to, from Noah's mouth, became stories of land that appeared on the endless sea. On the land called World, Noah fought with the decadent and dark regime just to protect a group of children who were regarded as monsters by others. On the land called World, Noah entered what was called an academy, but was actually a place for experiments. He got to know a group of students and spent a good time together. On the land called World, Noah encountered humans who could learn innate magic and were called magicians. They lived together in a mansion and faced fantasy species that were countless times more advanced than monsters. On the land called World, Noah confronted gods who could use their divine power without any scruples. He saw races that only existed in legends and wrote stories that were called myths. Noah was immersed in his memories and told his past without revealing his true origins. In the entire tent, only Noah's voice kept echoing and did not calm down for a long time. Ace, Leafia, Tiona, Finn, Riveria, Gareth, and the others had been listening to Noah's narration all this time. After learning about the extremely thrilling and exciting past, their hearts had practically never stopped being filled with shock and astonishment. The past that Noah told them was too dreamy for the people of this world. However, no one doubted that it was fake. There were two reasons. 1. There was no need for Noah to lie. 2. This was the only way to explain why the man in front of them had never received the grace of a god, but had strength beyond everyone's imagination. After experiencing so many bizarre and thrilling things, even an ordinary human would become an indomitable powerhouse under the tempering of Shiraba. Noah had successfully experienced it, which was why he was so powerful. Understanding this point, everyone present couldn't help but have a yearning in their hearts. If they could experience all kinds of thrilling and bizarre events like this person, they would have almost no regrets as an adventurer. Therefore, at this moment, whether it was Riveria who liked to travel, Finn, Gareth, Tyogny, or Leafia who had distant dreams, they couldn't help but yearn for the life that Noah described. Aze was the only one who couldn't help but have a thought as she looked at Noah, who was sitting beside her and telling everyone about his past. If that's the case, does it mean that one day, Noah will leave this continent and continue to drift on the sea like before and leave this place forever? At this thought, Aze began to feel an uncontrollable pain in her heart.